Part 18. I didn't want to go so far, but since you were so rude to us and treated us this way when we came all the way to your wedding, I'll let you see what the consequences of offending me are. It was naturally because of Finn Taylor's instructions that Ronan Simpson was fired. The company he was working for had always collaborated with Hunter Sullivan. Without the latter, they would probably lose 80% of their revenue. A human resources manager didn't mean much to them. Finn Taylor simply told Hunter Sullivan to let them know. He got up and smiled blandly as he looked around the venue that was in a mess. Oh, right, you gave me your blessings earlier, so it's only right that I do the same. With that, Finn Taylor picked up his wife's hand and walked out. Of course, Linda James wasn't going to leave. She had to stay to watch the show. When the couple returned home, they saw a piece of paper on the table. There was a short message on it: "Come to Grand Hotel if you want to see Clarine Landon alive." Grand Hotel. The couple shared a glance, shock evident in their eyes. This was the hotel Willow Stone was staying in. They had suspected that Willow Stone had kidnapped Clarine Landon, but there was nothing they could do since they had no evidence. Finn Taylor had instructed Horned Serpent to look for the young lady, but it was to no avail. However, the former believed that the kidnapper would eventually get in contact with them if they had kidnapped Clarine Landon with a motive. But now, it looked like the other party could no longer hold it in. "Dad, where's the paper from?" The couple had been away at the wedding, and Francis Larson had been the only one at home. Finn Taylor wanted to know how the paper had turned up. I don't know." Unfortunately, Francis Larson didn't know either. Finn Taylor thought it strange, so he checked the surveillance footage. What surprised him was that it was a bird that had brought the piece of paper in. Who sent it here? Is it really Willow Stone? Filled with doubts, Finn Taylor headed to Grand Hotel. However, he didn't allow his wife to tag along. It was too dangerous. There was no way Finn Taylor was going to risk his wife's life. Willow Stone learned of Finn Taylor's arrival at the hotel. "Finn is here. What's going on?" The young lady was shocked. "Is he here for me? That can't be. I haven't contacted him recently. Do you mean he's willing to get together with me now? But that's impossible. I haven't heard about Finn and Yvette getting into a quarrel lately." Actually, Finn Taylor had always thought that Willow Stone was the culprit before arriving at the hotel. But after arriving at the hotel, he spotted two men in black as well as an elder in a robe waiting for him. As he walked in, the three walked forward. Timothy Taylor. Finn Taylor was confused. "They're not calling me Finn Taylor but Timothy Taylor. Willow Stone shouldn't know of that name, so who are they?" "Lead the way." Finn Taylor knew that there was no point in saying any more and that he would only understand what was going on after he met the other. He followed the trio upstairs. Unlike what Finn Taylor was expecting, they weren't headed to the 9th floor but the 11th. Wait a minute, what's going on? Is Willow Stone not the one behind this? Doubts formed in Finn Taylor's mind as he opened the door and walked into the room. The two men in black didn't follow him in but stood guard at the door. Only that elder followed him in. Upon walking in, Finn Taylor spotted a couple in the room. The man was leaning against the table, a wine glass in his hand as he sipped on the wine from time to time. As for the lady, she was seated in front of the piano, playing a song that Finn Taylor didn't recognize. Finn Taylor didn't interrupt her, simply listening to the tune. Only when it ended did the lady turn around. "Hello, Timothy Taylor." The elegant young lady was different from the kidnapper Finn Taylor had in mind. "Do you guys have Clarine Landon?" Finn Taylor wasn't interested in anything but Clarine Landon's safety. "Don't worry, she's fine. I want to meet her. You can make a call to your wife. She should have reached your house by now. We released her." "They released her?" Finn Taylor was confused. "Who are they? What do they want? They spent so much effort to kidnap Clarine to call me here. But now that I'm here, they released her." Before he could make the call, his spouse called. Just as the woman had said, Clarine Landon was back safe and sound. After hanging up, Finn Taylor turned to the mysterious woman in front of him. "Who are you? What do you want?" The woman didn't have any time to say a thing before the man spoke up. "Why are you raising your voice? How did your family raise such a piece of trash? How could you be so rude to your relative?" The Taylor family, relative. Finn Taylor could sort of guess what was going on. "My name is Melanie Taylor, and his name is Levi Taylor. We're technically your cousins." Finn Taylor had already guessed so. "Are you Eugene Taylor's descendants? How dare you call him by his name? Hee." Finn Taylor could hardly be bothered with the other. Although Eugene Taylor was his grandfather's elder brother, the three of them were of equal status. Besides, they hadn't had much interaction after that falling out. "I'll call that old man whatever I want. Let's not waste time. Why did you call me here? There's something to discuss with you. Brian Taylor is missing, Jacob Taylor is dead, and Donovan Taylor is locked up in the dark pool. Timothy Taylor, you're just a useless matrilocal son-in-law. There's nobody left in your branch who can head the Taylor family. Our family is here to ask you to hand over the position of Master Peregrine. What do you think about that? Levi Taylor was stern, and he had no intention of discussing the matter. Although Finn Taylor had no interest in being Master Peregrine, others could dream on about him handing the position over. Dream on, Finn Taylor answered decisively. Of course, Levi Taylor had expected this response. Interesting, you're such a small fly, yet you want to go against us? Chicago's Taylor family might be impressive, but have you ever heard of the Taylor family from Southeast Asia? The Taylor family from Southeast Asia? Finn Taylor suddenly thought of it. They were one of the top families of the whole region. The Taylor family of Southeast Asia controlled the entire region and had a widespread influence across the wall. Is this the family that Eugene Taylor established? If that's the case, they're really formidable opponents. It seems like you recognize our family. You better hand the position of Master Peregrine over to us then. Actually, we don't have any ill intentions. We're from the same family. If not for the family feud at that time, we wouldn't have left Chicago. Now that we're back, we're going to lead the family back to glory again. Isn't that good? Levi Taylor made it sound like a good plan, but it sounded like nonsense to Finn Taylor. There's only one Taylor family, my grandpa's. I don't care what happened before that. The only one he cared about in the family was Brian Taylor. The feuds between the previous generations had nothing to do with him. It seems like you're really not afraid of dying. We came prepared not to let you leave alive today. You better think about it. WHO will protect your wife if something happens to you. Using Yvette to threaten me. Finn Taylor chuckled. Something will really happen to Yvette if I give in to them. Only if I deal with them will they not dare to touch Yvette. Besides, what they're really after is the position of Master Peregrine. Do they really think they can make the rest of Peregrine Hall listen to them? They must be kidding. I'm sure they won't dare to kill me. Are you really going to keep me here? So what if we do? Uncle Sam. The robed man named Uncle Sam rushed toward Finn Taylor. Finn Taylor dodged easily. From the elder's movements, he could clearly tell that the other was well trained. He isn't just any ordinary person, but so what? Am I going to give in to them just because of that? Where are you from? Finn Taylor dodged while trying to get information out of the other man. But Uncle Sam ignored him. My master once gave me a piece of jade. Anyone from the same sect isn't allowed to do anything to me. With that, Finn Taylor took out a piece of jade. Uncle Sam stopped in his tracks and glanced at Finn Taylor with a dark gaze. What's your relationship to him? I've only met the master once, but he said that my fate is intertwined with the sect. He gave me the piece of jade saying that it would come in handy one day so that his disciples wouldn't go against me. So that his disciples wouldn't go against him. Uncle Sam dazedly walked forward and picked up the piece of jade. Then, he fell on his knees all of a sudden. I'll send you back. A moment later, he stood up. His words shocked the other three in the room. What do you mean, Uncle Sam? Levi Taylor was the first to speak up, but Uncle Sam ignored him too. In fact, he had already opened the door for Finn Taylor. Levi Taylor was about to chase after the pair when Melanie Taylor stopped him. Let him leave. It's easy to kill him, so we'll let him off this time. Yet, Levi Taylor was indignant to let his cousin leave just like that. Uncle Sam was naturally only one of his many assassins, but they had never planned on letting Finn Taylor leave today. Who would have thought that such a dramatic scene would occur? Their plans had failed this time with Uncle Sam protecting him. He was just lucky this time. Uncle Sam merely sent Finn Taylor to the lobby before leaving. He had no plans of stepping out of the hotel. From her room, Willow Stone saw the scene panning out. She was curious why he had come to the hotel. She had already sent someone to investigate it, and she believed that she would get her answer soon. The door opened just then, and someone walked in. His name was Winter. What did you find? Finn Taylor went to the 11th floor. Someone booked out the entire floor. His name is Levi Taylor. Levi Taylor, have you found out about his background? Yes, he's the young master of Southeast Asia's Taylor family. His father is the family head Jeffrey Taylor. Southeast Asia's Taylor family, Finn Taylor. Do you mean that Finn Taylor is from that family? Willow Stone was slightly confused. I've been trying to figure out the other's true identity, but it was to no avail. But this time, things are looking up. Continue to look into this. Winter nodded. As Willow Stone gazed at Finn Taylor walking away from the hotel, she let out a meaningful smile. You want to escape from my grasp. You're still wet behind the ears. You'll never imagine the pain I went through. There's no way I'll let anything I want to slip out of my grasp. When Finn Taylor returned home, Clarine Landon was there too. Are you feeling alright? Yes. What did the two of them do to you? The two of them. Finn Taylor was trying to get leads to the Taylor siblings from Clarine Landon, but it seemed like she hadn't even met them. Nothing much. Finn Taylor had underestimated them. With their statuses, it's obvious that they wouldn't have done it personally. How could they meet Clarine Landon? What's going on, Finn? Was it Willow? Yvette Larson still held out one last shred of hope for her friend. As such, she posed that question in a hurry. Finn Taylor shook his head. It wasn't her, but he also added, however, Willowstone's background is very mysterious, and even I can't get anything on her. You two better be careful around her. The two best friends felt helpless. The three of them had been the best of friends, yet they were like strangers now. It was as though they didn't even know her. Oh right, you guys better just stay at home for now. It might be dangerous out there. Finn Taylor couldn't put his mind at rest since Melanie Taylor and Levi Taylor were still out there. Oh, right, Yvette, where are the wedding photos you took? Clarine Landon suddenly remembered that her best friend had gone to take wedding photos with her husband, but she hadn't heard anything about it ever since. Oh, I nearly forgot about it. Alright, we'll collect the photos before going to visit the children this afternoon then. Of course, Yvette Larson was referring to the orphans at Mercy Orphanage. Mercy Orphanage was a sore point for both young ladies. The Larson family had organized a charity ball with the Gold family for the orphanage, and it was there that Willowstone had ended their friendship. If we didn't have that ball, would we still be friends? Although she knew that it had nothing to do with the ball and that it was only a matter of time before their friendship ended, Yvette Larson still held on to that hope. She then made a call to Jamie Little, telling the latter that she would be collecting the photos later in the day before visiting Mercy Orphanage. Jamie Little was very grateful toward her. If not for her and Finn Taylor, the orphanage would have needed to shut down. But things were now improving by the day, and the orphanage had even accepted even more children. More importantly, the children were doing even better than before. That meant the world to Jamie Little. The orphanage was her home, and it delighted her to see the orphanage getting better by the day. That afternoon, the trio set off. When they arrived at Jamie Little's studio, the latter had already prepared the photos. Although Clarine Landon had already mentally prepared herself, she was still overwhelmed with emotions when she saw her best friend's wedding photos. Yvette, you look so gorgeous. I can't believe you're married. Yvette Larson rolled her eyes. I've already been married for 3 years. This was just a photo shoot to make up for the first one. She's exaggerating it. Finn, do you see how beautiful Yvette is? You better treat her well, otherwise, I'll make sure you'll pay. Finn Taylor felt beads of sweat dripping down his forehead. What's wrong with Clarine? We've already been together for 3 years. She's making it sound as though we're not married. Jamie, have you told the director about our visit? The young lady nodded. Yes, she's looking forward to your visit. Jamie Little suddenly giggled. Oh, right, Mr. Taylor, Ms. Kleina invited someone else too. Finn Taylor thought that her expression seemed a little strange. Who? Harvey Little. Harvey Little. Finn Taylor chuckled, suddenly remembering that he had made a bet with that man. At that time, he promised to change the orphanage. On the other hand, Harvey Little, who had grown up in the orphanage, hadn't offered any help. In fact, he even mocked Finn Taylor and said that he would pretend to be a dog and bark like one if the latter managed to change the orphanage's circumstances. Anyone had the right to say that, anyone but Harvey Little. He had grown up in the orphanage, so saying something like this meant that he hoped that the orphanage would fail. That was no different from cursing out one's ancestors. It was good enough that Finn Taylor hadn't punched him right then and there. They quickly drove off toward the orphanage. When the group arrived at their destination, they were stunned. The last time they visited the orphanage, the compound was very average. However, it was obvious that it had undergone a drastic change for the better. The trio got out of the car and looked in to see the director playing with the children. Seeing that the group had arrived, the director left the children and walked over. Finn Taylor is here. Ms. Kleina, this is my wife Yvette. You've met. This is her best friend Clarine. You've met before too. Yes, I've met both of them. Come in and have a seat. The director brought the trio into the meeting room. Previously, the meeting room was a simple room built out of wooden planks. Now, it was well constructed with concrete. Not only had it become bigger, but they had also placed a few sofas in the room. Last time, the director had served Finn Taylor with name brand tea. This time, she was serving him coffee made out of coffee beans. Ms. Kleina, you've done a good job sprucing this place up. It's all thanks to you, Mr. Taylor. Our children are split into 5 groups, and we received 15 offers this month. The money we got from the shows was enough to help make these improvements. Finn Taylor nodded in delight. That's great, Ms. Kleina. Have you guys received the money? Just then, they heard a voice. It was clearly Harvey Little's. Seeing that Finn Taylor was around, he furrowed his brows. Why are you here? Obviously, he had no idea that Finn Taylor was going to be here. Jamie Little, you must have called me over for his sake. The young lady laughed. What, are you afraid? Weren't you very confident when you made that bet? You said that you would kneel down if we managed to turn this place around. That memory suddenly appeared in Harvey Little's mind. He had indeed made a bet with the other man. Jamie Little, you owe me a lot. How dare you trick me like this? Don't you feel bad for doing this? Jamie Little slammed his fist down on the table. Harvey Little, if we want to talk about being heartless, you'll be the first candidate. This is Mercy Orphanage, your home. Without this place, you'd be dead. You didn't even offer a single cent when we needed money, but now that we've managed to turn the situation around, you're calling me heartless. Harvey Little ignored her and smirked at Finn Taylor. You must be a fool to think that I would really kneel down in front of you. Finn Taylor knew that the other would never admit to the bet. The latter would never do such a thing based on his personality and character. Ms. Kleina, I won't beat around the bush. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't willing to give you any money because a large corporation has its eyes set on this place. They wanted me to convince you to move away. They offered quite a huge sum of money, $1.5 million. Why don't you think about it? Harvey Little's words sounded ridiculous. He had grown up in the orphanage, yet not only did he not help them when it mattered the most, but he had even tried to kick them while they were down. The director could no longer hold herself back. She rushed up and slapped the man in the face. You're too much, Harvey Little. Do you even have a conscience? You want to demolish this place. But Harvey Little didn't feel an ounce of guilt. Ms. Kleina, you're going too far with your words. What era do we live in? Everyone cares only about their own self-interests. Think about it, you'll get $1.5 million if you move away. With that money, you'll be able to get a better place for the children. Isn't that good? Harvey Little sounded logical, but the director wasn't one who cared about money. Otherwise, she wouldn't have devoted her whole life to the children here. She didn't just have feelings for the children but also the land. Even if she did keep the name of the orphanage, it wouldn't feel the same if she were to move away. Harvey Little infuriated the director. Ms. Kleina, you better think it through. It's not as though the move won't happen just because you oppose it. Since he had failed to convince her, he was going to try threatening her. The director was so furious that she no longer wanted to say anything. She sat paralyzed on the chair. Finn Taylor stood up and glanced at the other man. What, do you still expect me to kneel down before you? Of course not. It's all thanks to me that the buildings here were renovated, so you should at least tell me who wants the orphanage gone. The director could only hope that Finn Taylor would resolve the matter on her behalf. All right then, it's the Anderson family from New York. Is it Rebecca Anderson or Raymond Anderson? Wait a minute, this was the first time any of them saw surprise on Harvey Little's face. I've been looking down on Finn Taylor, but he knows the Anderson family. And he can even name them. Raymond Anderson. Oh, Raymond is quite generous. He shouldn't have offered only $1.5 million, right? Finn Taylor's question embarrassed the other man. That's confidential. Confidential. All right, I won't ask you about it then. You can make an offer, but so can I. $15 million. If you make an offer of $15 million, you're welcome to demolish this place. $15 million for this dilapidated place? Have you gone mad? Watch your words. No matter how dilapidated this place is, it's where you grew up. I think you had better go talk to Raymond Anderson about this. Harvey Little was about to speak up when the director cut in. Shut up. $15 million. I want $15 million too. Don't you want us to move? Let's see if you can cough up $15 million. Harvey Little was confused. I lived with the director for more than a decade. We should have a close relationship, so why did she choose to support him instead of me? But I know that $15 million are way out of my league. I have to let Raymond Anderson know about this and let him make the decision. Thankfully, Raymond Anderson seemed to be paying close attention to the matter and was currently in San Francisco. Otherwise, he might have needed to make a trip to New York. All right, I'll go look for Mr. Anderson now. I'm going to get this place demolished for sure. With that, he turned to leave. Once Harvey Little left, the director shouted, Bast! 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 Why would Harvey do that? Jamie Little was still in a daze. He looks like he's getting along well. Does he really have no feelings for this place? Finn Taylor chuckled. That's simple. He just has an inferiority complex, and that's why he wants to destroy his past. Of course, it's a plus that he'll earn a huge sum out of it at the same time. Jamie Little was still confused. Do you mean that he wants to demolish the orphanage just because he doesn't want to admit that he's an orphan? Don't get angry over this, Ms. Kleina. Why don't you think about how you want to punish this traitor? What do you mean? You'll find out in a while. Harvey Little walked out and spotted a Ferrari outside. He had seen the Ferrari there last time, of course. He hadn't paid much attention to it back then. But this time, he finally realized that it was probably Finn Taylor's. He was indignant because his car was just an ordinary Buick. Very quickly, he arrived at Raymond Anderson's residence. As he rushed into the house, he spotted Raymond Anderson enjoying a cup of tea. Needless to say, the latter was annoyed by the other's sudden appearance. Mr. Anderson, I've run into some problems with the orphanage. Oh, what kind of problems? I don't have enough money. They want $15 million in compensation. $15 million. Raymond Anderson's hand shook, and tea spilled all over the floor as he frowned. That can't be. I've seen the orphanage, and it's worth $1.5 million at the very most. I'm already offering $3 million, so it should be more than enough. How could they be making such an unreasonable request? Mr. Anderson, it would have been easy to solve since the orphanage was facing financial difficulties, but they met a benefactor. Benefactor? What do you mean? Someone worked with the orphanage. With a stable source of income, they don't lack any financial support now. Oh, how interesting. Mr. Anderson, that man was the one who asked for $15 million. He's the one who made such an unreasonable request and is standing in our way. What's his name? For some reason, Raymond Anderson had an ominous feeling about this. Finn Taylor. Thud. The teacup smashed into pieces as it fell to the ground. Take me there. Raymond Anderson knew that he had offended Finn Taylor. I have to rush down to Mercy Orphanage and apologize to the latter at once. Otherwise, I'll be doomed. But Harvey Little still had no idea what was going on. He thought that the man wanted to deal with Finn Taylor. After all, Raymond Anderson was a formidable figure in New York. There's no way Finn Taylor will dare to go against Raymond Anderson. How dare he expect me to kneel down to him? He should be the one kneeling down to me. Just like that, Harvey Little arrived at Mercy Orphanage with Raymond Anderson. After that, the latter rushed into the orphanage. Still not sensing anything amiss, the former strolled in without any sense of urgency. Hurry up, Harvey. Where are they? Where's Mr. Taylor? To Harvey Little, Finn Taylor was just an insignificant character. He had never thought that the latter would be anyone of importance. As such, he hadn't realized that Raymond Anderson was addressing Finn Taylor as Mr. Taylor. It was obvious that the former respected him. Unfortunately, Harvey Little hadn't caught on. Walking into the meeting room and realizing that the group was still there, he rejoiced inwardly. I was so worried that Finn Taylor would have left. Thank God they're still here. He hated Finn Taylor and had a crush on Jamie Little. Ever since he was young, he had thought of the other Little as his girlfriend. But the last time he came, he had clearly seen Jamie Little treating Finn Taylor as her crush. That was when Finn Taylor had become his enemy. If Finn Taylor wanted to go east, he'd go west. He would do everything that Finn Taylor didn't want to do. It's not like I really want to demolish Mercy Orphanage. It's your fault, Finn Taylor. You forced me to do it. It was difficult to understand his logic. It was clearly his fault, yet he was trying to push the blame to someone else. Finn Taylor, I've invited Mr. Anderson over. I'm going to make sure you get down on your knees. Oh, Raymond Anderson is here. Hearing that Raymond Anderson had made a personal trip here, Finn Taylor's lips curled up into a smile. Everything was under his control, but the director didn't know that. She was now in a frenzy because she had heard of Raymond Anderson too. He's a famous entrepreneur from New York and has even been listed on the Forbes list. There's no way we'd be able to stand up against such an influential figure. All we can do now is try to negotiate with him in hopes that he's a kind and understanding person that will give up his plans once he learns of our story. But needless to say, self-interests mattered most to businessmen. As such, the director didn't have much hope of convincing the other. What, are you afraid now that you hear his name? Harvey Little was arrogant and tried to beat the other down using Raymond Anderson's name. He was really shameless. Come on, invite Raymond Anderson in. Let's see how afraid I'll get. Harvey Little sneered. Why is he still trying to put on an act even now? Mr. Anderson, this is Finn Taylor. He's the one who is standing in our way. Harvey Little invited the other in. Unexpectedly, Raymond Anderson immediately gave Finn Taylor a deep bow. "Greetings, Mr. Taylor. I'm Raymond Anderson of New York." His tone was extremely humble. Because of his relationship with Hunter Sullivan, he had learned of the current situation of the Taylor family young master that none of them had thought well of. He would never dare to cause any trouble for Finn Taylor. Otherwise, he might even lose his life. "Raymond Anderson, it seems like your business is doing well. You must be doing so well that you're even demolishing orphanages." "I wouldn't dare to do that, Mr. Taylor." "You wouldn't dare to do that. It seems like you would. If not for me, you would have demolished this place. What, is your family going bankrupt, and that's why you need this money?" Raymond Anderson was rendered speechless at the young man's chiding. If anyone else had spoken to him in this manner, he would have retorted them. But this was Finn Taylor, Master Peregrine. "What's wrong, Mr. Anderson?" Harvey Little had invited him over to deal with Finn Taylor. The former wanted his opponent to kneel down before him and beg him for mercy. Even so, he wouldn't forgive him no matter what. Yet, Harvey Little had never expected to see Raymond Anderson bow to Finn Taylor and offer the man an apology instead. Raymond Anderson simply ignored Harvey Little. The latter was very insignificant to him, and he didn't offer him much benefit anyway. In fact, Harvey Little had dug him a grave this time. He had never been insistent on demolishing the orphanage. It was Harvey Little who had tried to persuade him about it, and he had agreed to it in a moment of folly. Who would have expected this to invoke Finn Taylor's fury? "Mr. Taylor, I'm willing to accept any kind of punishment. How much did you say you would offer for this place?" Raymond Anderson didn't dare to make a low offer. 30 million. "How interesting," Harvey Little said. 15 million. "All right, I won't put you in the spot. Donate 30 million to the orphanage, and I'll take it as though nothing happened." Donate 30 million to the orphanage? That's such a harsh punishment. But thinking about it, money means nothing if it can save my life. "All right, I'll donate 30 million. Although it pained him to part with that money, he was more afraid of offending Finn Taylor. "Leave then, and take him with you. I'll see what you'll do with him." His last sentence was no different from a death sentence for Harvey Little. Finn Taylor was clearly incensed. "Either you or Harvey Little have to take the blame. Let's see how you deal with Harvey Little then. If you don't do it well, you can wait for me to deal with you." Raymond Anderson dragged the other man out. He then instructed his men to drag the latter into the woods. He couldn't care less about whether the other man would leave the woods alive. After doing so, he headed to visit Hunter Sullivan. Yet, he was given the cold shoulder. Hunter Sullivan wasn't even at home. "What should I do? I guess the only thing I can do is wait here." He didn't dare to leave, fearing that he would offend Hunter Sullivan. More importantly, he needed the latter's protection. Although Finn Taylor had not flared up at him, he could sense that the former had been annoyed. This could easily cost him his life. Now, the only person who could save him was Hunter Sullivan. He needed the latter's help. Hunter Sullivan returned before long, shocked to see Raymond Anderson standing in front of his house. "What's going on? Why are you here?" At this point in time, Wampus still had no clue about what had happened, and that was why he could still joke around with the other man. Of course, the latter was in no mood for that. "Mr. Sullivan, save me. You must save me." "Huh, what happened? Why are you so afraid?" "I offended someone." "You offended someone? Come in. Who did you offend?" Hunter Sullivan opened the door and invited the other in. "I offended Finn Taylor." Finn Taylor. Hunter Sullivan had the urge to kill Raymond Anderson. "Of all people, you offended Master Peregrine. I would chase this guy away if possible, but I can't. Finn Taylor thinks of Raymond Anderson as my subordinate. If he really has offended Master Peregrine, the latter might come to look for me instead of him. That would spell trouble." "Don't panic. Tell me what happened." "I came to San Francisco for business some time ago and saw a street that looked pretty good, so I wanted to demolish the building there to rebuild it. There's an orphanage there, and I didn't want to touch it, but a man named Harvey Little convinced me to. I think I must have been crazy to have listened to him and asked to demolish the orphanage." Hunter Sullivan cut in before the other could even finish. "Don't tell me that orphanage is Mercy Orphanage." "Yes, it's Mercy Orphanage." Hunter Sullivan had the urge to punch the other. "I told you that I just donated money to the orphanage last month and that Mr. Taylor cares very much about Mercy Orphanage. You're really courting death. I don't even know what to say. I know that now. I met Mr. Taylor earlier, and although he didn't do anything to me, I could tell that he was angry. Mr. Sullivan, you must save me." "Save you? You want me to save you? Do you know that you're dragging me down?" "Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Sullivan. Stop calling me Tell me how Finn Taylor punished you. He made me donate 30 million to the orphanage but didn't ask for anything more. Go get some snacks. We'll go up to Pacific Heights and look for Finn Taylor. Snacks? Raymond Anderson was stumped. Finn Taylor, Master Peregrine likes snacks. What are you thinking? I'm asking you to get the snacks for Mrs. Taylor. Master Peregrine treats his wife well. As long as she speaks up for you, you'll be saved. Oh, Raymond Anderson finally understood what was going on. He had heard of Finn Taylor even in New York too. Rumor had it that he listened to whatever his wife said since he was the Larson family's matrilocal son-in-law. Of course, the rumors painted him in a bad light too. However, Raymond Anderson didn't believe any of that. There had to be much more to Finn Taylor than what meets the eye. At sunset, Hunter Sullivan brought Raymond Anderson to number 1 Pacific Heights. It was the latter's first time there. Rumor has it that Finn Taylor doesn't live well and is always given the worst food and products. There are even rumors that he sleeps in a dog kennel. Look at where he's living. Thank God I didn't listen to those fools. I would already be dead if I believed those rumors and picked a fight with Finn Taylor today. Hey, why are you here? Yvette Larson was the first to spot the two men. She was shocked by their visit. Ms. Larson, I've brought some things for you. They're not worth much. The young lady was confused. What's with Raymond Anderson? Why did you bring it here since it's not worth much? Finn Taylor walked down the stairs, his words leaving Raymond Anderson in a daze. Finn, why are you being so mean? Come in, have a seat. Yvette Larson invited the pair in and even served them tea. What, are you here to speak up for him? Hunter Sullivan trembled slightly. He didn't think that the situation was so serious, but Master Peregrine was obviously angry. That spelled trouble. It was indeed true that Finn Taylor was furious. He had parents, but his childhood had been no different from an orphan's. Everyone in the family treated him as a jinx and wanted him dead. That was why he felt for the children and had established a rapport with them. However, Raymond Anderson had tried to demolish the orphanage. Great, this was no different from stabbing him right in the heart. It was obvious why he was incensed. To be honest, Finn Taylor wanted to slap Raymond Anderson. Hunter Sullivan, I'll be direct. I would have killed him if not for you. His entire family would probably be dead too. Finn Taylor's words terrified the other man. Even Hunter Sullivan hadn't expected the situation to be so serious. Yvette Larson rushed over and comforted her husband. Don't flare up, Finn. Didn't we manage to resolve the matter? There's no need to talk about death. Unexpectedly, her husband didn't grab her hand this time. Yvette Larson understood that this wasn't because he didn't like her anymore and that something had to be wrong. Hence, she didn't dare to say another word. Thud, Raymond Anderson suddenly fell onto his knees on the ground, without any care for his dignity. He was a wealthy man who held great influence in New York. The Forbes list wasn't just open to anyone. Since he had ranked on the list, it was obvious just how exceptional Raymond Anderson was. Even so, he had kneeled down without any hesitation. If kneeling could do anything, I wouldn't have endured all these things for 3 years. Finn Taylor laughed before heading upstairs, not even sparing the man a glance. Now, Raymond Anderson was truly in a panic. He knew that things were getting from bad to worse. It seems like I've really offended Finn Taylor this time. But even up until now, I don't understand what is going on. Among everyone present, nobody understood Finn Taylor's background more than Hunter Sullivan. As such, he had a clue as to why Finn Taylor had gotten this angry. Perhaps that orphanage is like a refuge for him, somewhere he can feel the warmth he should have received in his childhood. However, you tried to tear that place down. You're really unlucky to have touched Finn Taylor's sore spot. Yvette, we're leaving. Raymond Anderson was still slightly reluctant to leave, but he didn't dare to rebut the other. As such, Yvette Larson felt a little lost. I'll try to convince him. Hunter Sullivan quickly waved her off. Don't do that, Yvette. Don't say a word about this to him. Although she didn't understand why Hunter Sullivan said that, she nodded. Hunter Sullivan then brought Raymond Anderson back to his house. Furious, he slapped Raymond Anderson in the face. Did you lose your mind? Why did you have to do this? Look at what's happening now. Raymond Anderson furiously slapped himself in the face too. Mr. Sullivan, I really didn't know that things would escalate to this point. You didn't know. I'm telling you that there's much more that you don't know. Finn Taylor wasn't acting earlier. He's really enraged, but I can't tell you why. There's only one way for you to survive now. Raymond Anderson thought that he was done for. He hadn't expected Hunter Sullivan to tell him that there was still a way out. Emotional, he hurriedly asked, "Please help me, Mr. Sullivan." "What way is there?" Finn Taylor is angry because you wanted to demolish the orphanage. If you want to live, you better do a good job in improving the facilities there then. Remember not to try using any of your sly tricks. I'm not talking about just providing financial support but putting your heart into it. If you manage to win the hearts of the orphanage's children, you might even rise up because of it. Rise up. Raymond Anderson was overwhelmed with emotion. She knew what that meant. Finn Taylor was Master Peregrine, the head of Peregrine Hall. If I can work for Finn Taylor, my status will be completely different. Go ahead then. What happens now will all depend on you. Raymond Anderson thanked the other for letting him in on all this. He knew he owed Hunter Sullivan a favor that he would have to return in the future. Number 1 Pacific Heights. Finn Taylor hadn't come out of his room ever since entering. At dinner time, Yvette Larson tried to call her husband out, but he didn't respond. After dinner, she carefully walked into the room with a plate of dinner, only to see that her spouse had already fallen asleep. She quietly placed the plate down and sat by his side, observing him. Finn has behaved so out of the ordinary today. He's not one to get enraged so easily, but he was clearly angry today. There must be more to this. Her intuition told her that this had something to do with Finn Taylor and his family. But because he had never said anything about what he had experienced in his family, Yvette Larson didn't know the details either. After some time, Finn Taylor awoke and saw his spouse sitting next to him. You're awake. What's the time? Finn Taylor was slightly groggy. 11:30. Finn Taylor glanced out of the window. The sky was dark. He hadn't expected himself to have slept for such a long time. He had dreamed of his grandpa Brian Taylor last night. Shall we go out to get something to eat? All right. The food that Yvette Larson had brought over earlier was now cold. With that, the couple headed out and arrived at a snack bar. Finn Taylor placed a snack on his significant other's plate. Aren't you curious why I got angry today? Slightly, but I won't ask you if you're not willing to say anything. You've met my mother. She's always been biased toward my younger brother since we were young. They all said that my younger brother was a saint and that I was a jinx. They all wanted me gone, so I grew up just like those children in the orphanage with no love or warmth. And Raymond Anderson wanted to demolish the orphanage. His voice turned a little sharp. It sounded as though he was trying to protect himself because someone had probed his sore spot. Yvette Larson hurried over, clutched his hand, and took him into her embrace. All right, you don't have to say any more. Finn Taylor felt comforted by his wife's hug. It was hard to walk out of childhood trauma. A man and woman entered the bar just then, and they spotted him as well. They were the Taylor siblings. Finn Taylor, you're here for supper too. They sat themselves in front of Finn Taylor without any hesitation. Hey, Melanie Taylor called for the server and ordered more. You won't mind us sitting here, will you? What if I do? Finn Taylor didn't want any interactions with these two siblings. There was no point in doing so, but so what if he said that he minded? It doesn't matter, I've already ordered. What, we're relatives anyway. Why would you mind? Relatives. Finn Taylor chuckled. I have never met them before, and they are such distant relatives. What is the point of bringing our relationship into the picture? She must be your wife Yvette Larson. Rumor has it that she's the most beautiful woman in San Francisco. Now that I've seen her in person, I think so too. Finn Taylor wrapped his arms around his wife. She has nothing to do with you. Melanie Taylor started eating. Why are you getting so worked up? It's not like I'll eat her up. Let's go. Finn Taylor took his wife's hand, wanting to leave. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? Have you guys sent Clarine Landon for a checkup? The couple was already leaving, but they stopped in their tracks. What do you mean? Nothing much. I'm just reminding you to bring her for one if you haven't already. Let's go. Finn Taylor didn't delay any further and drove straight to the Landon family's residence. For some reason, Finn Taylor had an ominous feeling about this. He could only hope that his relatives had only been trying to scare him. When the couple arrived at the Landon family's residence, they realized that the lights were still on. It was already close to midnight. Something was amiss. They rushed into the house, heading straight upstairs. As expected, they bumped into Clarine Landon's parents who were in a frenzy. Finn, Yvette, why are you here? It's good that you're here. Hurry up and take a look at Clarine. She suddenly fainted. The couple's hearts thumped. Finn Taylor had already informed his wife that those two men earlier were the ones who had kidnapped her best friend. Let me take a look. Finn Taylor took Clarine Landon's pulse and shut his eyes. Yvette Larson stood by his side, not daring to say anything because she feared that she would disturb him. 5 minutes later, Finn Taylor finally opened his eyes and shook his head. She's fine and not in critical condition. You don't have to send her to the hospital. Let me get something from the car. He then rushed downstairs. Yvette Larson had been in a daze through it all. She didn't know what her spouse had discovered, but the latter returned very quickly with a box. Yvette Larson had never even seen that box in the car before and had no idea that it even existed. What's that? Acupuncture needles. We had that in the car. Remove her shoes. Following her husband's instructions, she quickly removed both of her best friend's shoes. And her socks. Yvette Larson then removed her best friend's socks as well. Uncle, Auntie, could you please go out for a while? Of course, Clarine Landon's parents refused. No, we must be here. We have to remain by our daughter's side. Finn Taylor was helpless. I didn't want them to see such a gruesome scene, but I can't do anything since they insist. He picked up a needle and disinfected it before stabbing it into Clarine Landon's left big toe. All three onlookers felt their hearts drop at that sight, yet that was only the beginning. He inserted a second, a third, and then a fourth needle. Clarine Landon's mother could no longer watch. She turned away as her husband covered her eyes. However, Kenneth Landon's eyes remained fixed on his daughter even though he was terrified too. Yvette, get a basin over. Basin. Clarine Landon's mother rushed out. I'll get it. Cassandra Campbell couldn't bear to watch, but she wanted to do something for her daughter. She returned with the basin, handing it over to her daughter's friend without turning around. She couldn't bear to see her daughter getting stabbed by needles. Hold it. As he said so, he removed all 10 needles at once. Pissed. Blood flowed out of the young lady's feet and into the basin. The blood was a deep red. She had very obviously been poisoned. All of a sudden, Clarine Landon Kokechi was awake. Don't move. Hearing sounds from Clarine Landon, her mother walked over, wanting to support her to sit up. However, Finn Taylor stopped them. He picked up a pill from the box, breaking it open and applying the powder on Clarine Landon's feet. Help her up onto the bed in 10 minutes' time. Finn Taylor then packed his needles back into his box before leaving the room. Clarine Landon's father followed him out. Finn, how's Clarine? She's fine. She just needs a few days rest. Clarine Landon's father didn't know what to do, and he lowered his head. Finn, please forgive us for how we treated you before. Please save Clarine if anything happens to her. She's my only daughter. Finn Taylor knew exactly what the other was apologizing for. The latter had said that he was nothing but a useless matrilocal son-in-law when talking about the Sanders family the previous time. How was he to know that this useless matrilocal son-in-law would save the Landon family again and again? Let's go, Yvette. Yvette Larson walked out of the room and looked at her spouse. I want to stay here. I'm worried about her. Clarine Landon's mother tried to convince him too. Don't leave, Finn. Why don't you stay here for the night? I'll tidy a room for you guys. Even Kenneth Landon acted like a clingy woman. That's right, Finn. It's so dark outside, it's too dangerous to head home now. Why don't you stay? Finn Taylor wasn't unfriendly and nodded in agreement. I'll take another look at her. He then walked into the young lady's room, but his eyes weren't on her. Instead, he was observing the layout of the room. He looked at the ceiling, the floor, and then the wallpaper. Eventually, his eyes landed on a plant. Where did you get this plant? We picked it up. Picked it up. Finn Taylor was stunned. What kind of answer is this? Picked it up. We came home one day to many pots of plants outside our house, so we moved them in. Finn Taylor frowned. Why would you bring these things into your house when you don't even know where they're from? How many do you have in the house? About 5. Finn Taylor turned to Clarine Landon's father. Burn them all now. Although Kenneth Landon didn't understand why the other was asking him to do so, he followed the instructions. Is there something wrong with the plants? Clarine Landon turned to him, curious. To be honest, she was more curious as to why she had suddenly fainted. Yvette Larson said that she had been poisoned. However, I ate with my parents. Why am I the only one who was poisoned? That doesn't make sense. Alright, it's fine now. Finn Taylor didn't tell Clarine Landon the truth. Since he had already resolved the matter, there was no need to worry her. But now, Finn Taylor was furious toward the Taylor siblings. It's fine if you come at me, but why do you have to touch those around me? What are you two really after? The night passed uneventfully. The next day, Finn Taylor took Clarine Landon's pulse once again to see how she had recovered over the night. The results pleased him. Clarine Landon was doing just fine. You're all right now. Don't worry, I feel much better today too. Oh, right, Finn, can you tell me who kidnapped me? Was it really Willow? You don't have to speak up for her. Although Finn Taylor had already said that it wasn't her best friend, Clarine Landon still felt a little worried that her best friend's husband was just being considerate of their feelings and had lied to them. Just then, Cassandra Campbell yelled out, "Clarine, Willow is here. Willow is here." Everyone was stunned to hear that. Why is she here? The best friends shared a glance, confusion evident in both their eyes. "Let her come up since she's here," Finn Taylor said decisively. Nobody objected to that. They clearly hadn't been able to forget about this friendship completely. Willow Stone walked upstairs and entered Clarine Landon's room. "Hey, what's going on?" Finn Taylor observed Willow Stone's actions carefully. Clarine Landon had just fainted, and Willow Stone happened to show up just then. It seemed awfully suspicious. Yet, the shock on Willow Stone's face earlier was genuine. She clearly didn't know what had happened. Food poisoning, but she's fine now. Do you want to go to the hospital? Why do you pretend to care so much about me? Willow Stone turned to her friend. "I don't think I have any grudges against you. I hope that you remain neutral. Remain neutral and watch you hurt Yvette." Since she had been exposed, Willow didn't try to hide it as she turned to look at her former best friend. "Yvette, I hope you give up." "Give up on what? Our friendship or my husband?" Yvette Larson smirked. "She's being so ridiculous." "Both. I won't leave with you." Finn Taylor casually cut in. "I don't think that's up to you." Willow Stone was clearly talking about him, but she had never asked for his opinion. It seemed as though Yvette Larson's approval was the only thing she needed. "What, are you going to kidnap me and bring me back to your country?" "Kidnap? I don't need to kidnap you. As long as I want something, I'll have a way of getting it. You'll discover the inception of this content at N0V at Elbin." Finn Taylor chuckled. "She's so confident. Where does that confidence even come from? Does she really think that Yvette will give me up and that I will follow her? Yvette will never do that." "Yvette, do you remember this person?" Willow Stone suddenly took a photo out. When Yvette Larson took a close look at the photo, she was shocked. It was a young lady named Elena Gomez, Yvette Larson's savior. Years ago, the latter had nearly gotten into a car accident, and it was Elena Gomez who had saved her. It was just that they had lost contact over the years. For some reason, Yvette Larson felt that something was going to happen since her friend had suddenly mentioned that young lady. She managed to get her leg treated in Europe. I'm sure you know why she injured her leg in the first place and that she needs regular treatment. Yvette Larson naturally knew the reason Elena Gomez had gotten hit by that truck while trying to save her. "Why did you take her to Europe?" "Don't accuse me. She's there for treatment. I wasn't the one who brought her over." Finn Taylor, I guess you never would have thought that your wife is someone like this, right? She doesn't even care about her savior, who's only sick because of her. Look, she doesn't even give a hoot about her savior being ill. This is your wife. Finn Taylor didn't believe a word that the other was saying. He knew that the other would stop at nothing to denigrate others. Yvette Larson was still in disbelief. She had never thought that her friend would use such words against her. "Are you done?" Finn Taylor's tone was cold. His indifference angered Willow Stone. "Do you not believe me? You're just a stranger, while she's my wife. Who do you think'll believe?" Finn Taylor deliberately reminded the other of their different statuses. This annoyed the young lady even more. "But I'm telling you the truth. Your wife did all this. It seems like you're not here to visit Clarine. Since that's the case, you can leave," Finn Taylor commanded. It irked Willow Stone. "I went all out to try to break the couple up, but why is Finn Taylor so stubborn? No matter what I say, he always chooses to believe his wife instead of me. It would have been fine if he was truly a piece of trash, but he is clearly powerful. Therefore, why does he remain so loyal to her?" Willow Stone stomped off, still unable to wrap her head around why the other was such a fool. Only after she left did Clarine Landon turn to her best friend. "She's starting to go against you. You better be careful." Yvette Larson shrugged. "There's nothing to worry about. All she wants is my husband. It's been 3 years, and nobody has succeeded in taking him away from me. Do you think she'll succeed?" Clarine Landon nodded. "That's right. The two of them have gone through so much over the past 3 years, but they're still together. There's no way Willow will be able to come between them. I have something on, so I'll take my leave." Seeing that her best friend was safe, Yvette Larson decided to leave. Knowing that the other was busy, Clarine Landon didn't try to stop her either. Finn Taylor sent his wife back to the office. "Go on in, I'll go get something to eat." Finn Taylor then bought breakfast before returning to the office. When he walked into his wife's office, he saw her brows knitted into a frown. "What's going on?" "Nothing much, but Quince Larson and the rest are acting up again. They've been contacting my clients, probably to poach them over." Finn Taylor chuckled, not taking the matter to heart. Gremlin made a wrong decision by choosing Quince Larson. His money is probably going to go down the drain. Money doesn't make a person. A person makes money because of their own abilities. It wasn't that Finn Taylor looked down on Quince Larson, but the latter was truly a piece of trash. Do you really think that you'll be able to take business away from us just because you have money? You must be kidding. Nobody will want to work with you when you're so incapable. There's nothing to be gained from working with you. In fact, people might even lose their reputations by working with you. Knock knock. Yvette Larson asked the other to enter. Her assistant entered and walked up to Finn Taylor. Mr. Taylor, Mr. Hunter Sullivan is waiting in the lobby. I invited him in, but he refused, saying that he would only enter after he gets your permission. All right, go back to work. Huh, the assistant was confused. I thought that Finn Taylor would ask him to come in, but he didn't say anything. What is going on? Afraid that her assistant would be nosy, Yvette Larson chased the former away. The assistant didn't know what was going on, but she quickly left without asking anything. Once she left, Yvette Larson handed a document to her husband. Take a look at this. What's this? Finn Taylor asked as he scanned through the document. Its content was simple. Yvette Larson simply wanted to reward those who had made contributions to the company. Is there anything wrong with it? Remove this. Finn Taylor pointed at Hunter Sullivan's name. Yvette Larson glanced at it. Do I really have to? Hunter Sullivan has made great contributions to the company. What will others think of this? Listen to me and remove his name. Does it have anything to do with Raymond Anderson? Finn Taylor shook his head. It has nothing to do with him. That confused Yvette Larson even more. What does Finn mean? Remove these 3 names as well. Finn Taylor pointed at the other 3 guardians' names. The 3 men held some shares in the company but hadn't made many contributions to the company. As such, Yvette Larson hadn't given them much reward. It was practically nothing, yet Finn Taylor still chose to remove their names. Call for a shareholders' meeting. That confused Yvette Larson even more. What's he up to? Nonetheless, Yvette Larson did as her spouse said. In other companies, there would probably be a week's notice before a shareholders' meeting. However, the Larson Corporation held the meeting that very afternoon after the announcement. Who knew how the shareholders felt about the meeting? Call my assistant in. Yvette Larson called for her assistant. Is Hunter Sullivan still outside? Finn Taylor asked. Yes, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Sullivan is still waiting outside. Ask him to leave. Tell him to attend the shareholders' meeting this afternoon. The assistant simply did as he said without asking any questions. Tell Mom and Dad to come in the afternoon too. What are you up to, Finn? Yvette Larson felt as though something was amiss all of a sudden. You'll see later on. Yvette Larson panicked. She still had no idea what her spouse was up to. Time ticked by amidst the chaos. As afternoon arrived, the shareholders started arriving. The 4 guardians made their way there and sat on the sofa in the meeting room, not daring to say a word. Just then, Linda James and Frances Larson arrived. Finn Taylor invited them to their daughter's office. After that, he brought his wife to the meeting room. Hello, Mr. Taylor. Hello, Ms. Larson. Seeing the couple enter, everyone in the room stood up. Finn Taylor turned to Hunter Sullivan. What? You have shares in this company too. Why aren't you coming in? The latter chuckled a little awkwardly, not knowing what to say. Hand those shares over if you don't want them. He had no idea what Finn Taylor was saying. Does he really hate me because of what happened with Raymond Anderson? But that's impossible. That's not something Master Peregrine would do. You guys too. Hand all of your shares over. All right. The other 3 guardians agreed without any hesitation. Only Hunter Sullivan was left in a daze. Mr. Taylor, regarding Raymond Anderson. Finn Taylor waved him off. It has nothing to do with Raymond Anderson. Nothing to do with him. Hunter Sullivan was even more confused. Since it has nothing to do with him, why do I need to hand over my shares? Is he not trying to put me in the spot? I don't really care much about these shares though. Gremlin gave Quince Larson 10 billion to go against me. How impressive, but he unfortunately chose to give his money to a useless fool. So what if he has 10 billion? Quince Larson has been trying to snatch clients away from us, and these customers are all waiting to see what will happen. It's true that Quince Larson has offered them a huge sum of money, but everyone knows about his abilities too. That's why everyone hasn't really signed anything even though they've verbally agreed to it. Do you know what I want to do now? Everyone was listening intently. They knew of one thing. Finn Taylor was going to do something important. I want to spend Quince Larson's $10 billion. I want all of you to hand over your shares to Linda James and Frances Larson. Leave the 2 of them to run the company from now on. They've never run a company, so this company will definitely fall. Since this company was established by the Larson family, I'm sure Quince Larson will find a way to acquire this company in order to become the family head. That's exactly what we want. We need to dry up the company's resources in the shortest time possible. It'll be fun to see Quince Larson buying nothing but a paper company. Let's see how Gremlin will deal with him after wasting $10 billion then. I was so worried that Finn Taylor wanted my shares because I offended him, but it seems like I'm not the one who offended him. It's Quince Larson. To be honest, Quince Larson is really unlucky. Of all people to offend, he offended Finn Taylor. He wasn't even good in business to begin with. I'm sure he doesn't even know how to use those $10 billion. Remember to act natural during the shareholders' meeting later. Hunter Sullivan was stunned. What do you mean? Are we not going to tell them about it? Yvette Larson cupped her face. I don't want to admit to it, but I think it's best if we keep it from my mom. If we tell her about it, the whole world will probably hear of it too. The shareholders' meeting began with Finn Taylor at the head of the table and his wife by his side. The rest then took their seats. We called for a meeting today to make an announcement. You all know that this company belonged to the Larson family and that everyone here acquired shares when the company ran into some financial difficulties. Since the company belongs to the family, it should eventually go back to them. Name a price. The four guardians pretended to be shocked upon hearing Finn Taylor's words. You're buying our shares? That won't be easy. When we bought them, the company was in dire straits. But look at how successful the company is now. It seemed as though they were reluctant to give up their shares. Finn Taylor chuckled. That's all right. It's just a matter of money, isn't it? Any problem that can be solved with money isn't a problem. I'll buy the shares from you for twice the market price. How's that? The men's eyes reddened. Twice the market price? Hold on, let us discuss this. The four guardians pretended to discuss the matter among themselves. Following that, Hunter Sullivan spoke up. All right, we've decided to sell the shares to you. However, you have to pay us right away. Of course, I never owe anyone anything. Finn Taylor wrote each of the four guardians a contract, and they agreed to transfer ownership of the shares straight away. All right, let's talk about how to distribute the shares then. Yvette, my suggestion is to hand it all to Dad. This is the Larson family's company, and Dad is the eldest son of the family. It's only right that he inherits the company. Both Linda James and Frances Larson were shocked. No, Finn, what are you saying? Transferring all the shares to him? Linda James pointed at her husband in disbelief. She had married a good-for-nothing, but he was going to become a director in his old age. Yes, since this is the Larson Corporation, it makes sense for the eldest son to have it. Hold on, I want some shares too. I'm the eldest daughter-in-law of the Larson family. For some strange reason, Linda James butted in. No, Mom, there's no need to split them. Isn't it the same for Dad to have them all? Linda James shook her head. No, that's different. If I get a divorce from him, the shares will all be under his name. I won't get a single cent. Those words stunned Frances Larson. What are you saying? We've been married for so many years, and Yvette is all grown up. Why would we get a divorce? Linda James was indignant. I've seen people in their 90s getting divorced. Fine, stop arguing. Dad will get 51% of the shares, and you'll get 49%. Will that do? Linda James wanted to question why she was getting fewer shares than her husband, but she immediately shut up when her daughter glared at her. The meeting ended, and Linda James immediately looked for her friends. Finn Taylor knew that she was going to brag to everyone about how she now held shares to the company and was rich. Finn Taylor was pleased this was exactly what he wanted. If she didn't spread the word, he would have to do it himself. Let's go visit Clarine. Yvette Larson packed up and followed her husband out. For some reason, she felt that the latter was up to something. Although she didn't understand it, it didn't stop her from putting full trust in him. Very quickly, they arrived at their destination. When they arrived, the Landon family was savoring some imported fruits. Finn Taylor didn't ask before he picked one up and handed it to his spouse. He then took one for himself. He sat down and turned to Clarine Landon. I need some help. The latter was slightly confused. What help do you need? I need you to get into a fight with her. Finn Taylor pointed at his wife sitting next to him. Huh, both of them were stunned. This what is going on? Why should we get into a fight? To end your friendship. Neither of them understood him. We have such a great relationship, so why is Finn trying to break us apart? Fine, we'll do just that. Clarine Landon was still in a daze, but her best friend had already caught on. Are you dealing with Willow now? Since she has already shown her hand, we can't just wait for her to make her move. Yvette Larson knew that her husband wasn't one to be bullied. What's going on, Yvette? I don't know either, but I think it's best if we listen to Finn and think of a way to break up our relationship in public. Clarine Landon had no idea what her best friend's husband was up to, but she chose to believe in Yvette Larson and eventually agreed. The next day, Yvette Larson and Clarine Landon agreed to go out together on a shopping trip. The best friends eventually walked into a bubble tea shop, and each ordered a different drink before sitting down to chat. All of a sudden, Yvette Larson slammed her fist down on the table, and Clarine Landon splashed the cup of tea in her hand on the other. Yvette Larson then slapped her best friend in the face. Just like that, the pair were locked in a fight. Onlookers were stumped, and the staff quickly stepped forward to try to break up the fight. However, nobody dared to offend these two influential figures of San Francisco. Although they eventually managed to break up the fight, the two friends were still shouting at each other, eventually going Dutch on their drinks. Within 5 minutes, the whole of San Francisco had caught wind of this. No more than 10 minutes later, someone opened the door to Willow Stone's office. Her assistant played the video of the two friends fighting. Initially, Willow Stone had been rather annoyed with her assistant. The latter shouldn't have barged in during her meeting, but she rewarded her assistant the moment she watched the video. She waved, gesturing for everyone else to leave. With that, she was left alone in the conference room. She replayed the video over and over again nearly 30 times. In the end, she let out a chuckle. "Great, Yvette Larson, you're a traitor. Just wait to die." With that, she stood up and headed for Quince Larson's company. The latter naturally disgusted her, but she had no choice but to enlist his help in order to deal with Yvette Larson. Quince Larson was the biggest joke of the entire city. He was absolutely incapable but enjoyed pretending to be a rich young master. He had once been in charge of the Larson Corporation, but he had run it into the ground within a month. In the end, the company was acquired. For some reason, he managed to secure $10 billion worth of funds and established a mega company. Unfortunately, he was truly useless, and nobody in San Francisco was willing to even work with him. Although he had been throwing cash out to try and secure contacts, nobody had actually signed any contracts with him. As such, Willow Stone was headed for his company to solve this problem. Quince Larson's company, the chairman's office. Quince Larson slammed the document on the desk. "These basts, I'm already offering 5 times that amount, yet none of them have agreed to work with me. They all say that they'll think about it." Eleanor Larson was in the office too. To be honest, the cousins' standards of living had improved after receiving that sum of money. However, this wasn't the only thing they were after. They wanted to make a name for themselves and crush Yvette Larson under their feet, yet they had been unable to do so. "Don't get angry over this. They're idiots." Just then, his assistant rushed into the room. Quince Larson was already on the verge of bursting out into anger. Now that his assistant had barged in without even knocking, he flared up. "Scram, why don't you even know to knock on the door?" His assistant was stumped, yet there was nothing she could do. She simply shut the door and knocked before entering. "Come in." He had gotten on his assistant's nerves too. If not for her salary, there was no way she would serve such an annoying person. "The chairman of Willow Corporation, Willow Stoney's waiting for you in the meeting room." "Did I hear that wrongly?" Quince Larson was dumbfounded. "Willow Stone is here." "That's right, why didn't you say so earlier?" Quince Larson stood up, walking straight to the door. "Hold on." Eleanor Larson stopped her cousin before walking over to tidy his clothes. "Go on." Quince Larson was moved. "Willow Stone is such a powerful woman. Why is she suddenly looking for me? Is it good news?" He walked to the meeting room with a grin on his face. "I'm sorry to keep you waiting." Willow Stone felt nauseated by Quince Larson's actions. She wasn't used to dealing with people like this. "Of course not. I invited myself over. I hope you don't mind." "Of course not. Billy, get us some tea." Quince Larson then sat down. "Why are you here today, Ms. Stone?" "Nothing much. I heard that you've been looking to collaborate with other companies but haven't been very successful." Quince Larson frowned. This was what was weighing down on his mind. "Is she here to insult me?" "Ha ha. Don't be mistaken, Mr. Larson. It's very normal for this to happen when you first establish a company. Both of us just established our companies, and we have powerful enemies against USTHE Gold family and Yvette Larson. I was wondering if we could work together to get business partners." Quince Larson: "I knew she wouldn't come for nothing, but I didn't think that it'd be such a good deal. Yvette Larson and the Gold family are pretty close, and those two families have been suppressing all other businesses here in San Francisco. If we can work together, I'm sure we'll be able to defeat them." But inwardly, Willow Stone was rolling her eyes. "It's so embarrassing to be working with such a useless fool like you." But Quince Larson had other thoughts. Hee, weren't you Yvette Larson's best friend in the past? I heard that you recently ended your friendship. Isn't there another one who broke up with her too? It would be nice if I get both of you. If Willowstone were to learn of what this man was thinking about, he would probably be dead by now. Alright, let's draft up a contract then. Once we sign it, we can announce it to the public. Wow, you're so efficient, Ms. Stone. It's about lunchtime. Why don't I give you a treat? Willowstone waved him off. No thanks, I have something else to attend to and have to rush back to the office. Let's have a meal when we sign the contract. There's no way I'll have a meal alone with Quince Larson. He thinks too highly of himself. Even if we have to go for a meal together, I'll invite everyone there in the name of the company. You should look in the mirror, Quince Larson. Who do you think you are to have a meal alone with me? Quince Larson had wanted to have a meal with the other, but she rejected him. He was helpless. Of course, Finn Taylor knew all about Willowstone visiting his cousin-in-law. He would never miss something like that. Similarly, Melanie Taylor and Levi Taylor had learned of it too. What do you think they're up to? I don't know, but I bet it's going to be interesting. I'm quite interested in that Willowstone. Melanie Taylor's expression darkened. Don't fool around. You're thinking too much about it. I checked on those people, but I couldn't find anything on Willowstone. What do you mean? Melanie Taylor felt that something was amiss. What I gathered was that Willowstone's parents are farmers and that she has no other relatives. She left for Europe after graduating college and hasn't been back until last month. What? Is there something wrong? Do you think that farmers aren't able to migrate? Of course not. The document is quite complete, and Willowstone was impressive at college. It was because of her achievements that her family was able to move to Europe. But what? The information is all fake. Fake? Yes, it's all fake. Apart from her name, everything is fake. Melanie Taylor was taken aback. She had never expected her to be someone like that. Well, I'm getting interested in this too. Before this, Melanie Taylor had had no interest in the fight between the three families because they were all insignificant. But this had piqued her interest. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I naturally can't miss out on it. Melanie Taylor let out a meaningful smile. Do you mean that you want to get involved too? Finn Taylor had only wanted to draw Willowstone out, but never had he expected to draw the Taylor siblings out too. Over the next few days, several things happened in San Francisco. Firstly, there was a public announcement that Willowstone and Quince Larson's companies would force an alliance and that anyone who worked with either of them would be working with both companies. This announcement drew waves in the business circle. Quince Larson had previously approached several companies, yet they had all been waiting by the sidelines. The main reasons were that Quince Larson was incapable and that they were afraid of losing their money. But things were now different with Willowstone in the picture. Everyone had seen just how capable she was. As such, those companies were now willing to work with Quince Larson. Of course, the latter was no fool and reduced his offer too. In the past, he had offered 5 times the market price, but he was only offering twice the market price now. Although the sum had significantly decreased, it would still benefit them compared to working with Finn Taylor. As such, many still agreed to the offer. The other thing that happened was in Yvette Larson's company. Because of the changes, Francis Larson had taken over the position of company chairman. Although they were a family, the problem lay in how Yvette Larson no longer went to the office once she stepped down from the position. Even Finn Taylor no longer showed up in the office. Now, the ones making all decisions were Francis Larson and Linda James. More accurately, Linda James was the one in charge of the company. Very obviously, the company would only go downhill under her management, and their partners quickly left one after another. This naturally worried their employees, who tried frantically to get through to Yvette Larson. However, all calls to the latter went unanswered. Left with no other choice, they could only call Hunter Sullivan. Yet, he made his stance clear too. He had already sold all his shares in the company, so it had nothing to do with him anymore. With nobody managing the company, the employees had no choice but to try dealing with the chairman. They rushed into the chairman's office, only to find it empty. Nobody had realized that the couple had slipped away and was no longer in the office. Since they were now chairman of the company and were rich, they had gone out to have their own fun. Linda James had invited her friends to play cards while her husband had gone out drinking with his friends. Their lives couldn't get any more comfortable than this, but they never thought that danger was imminent. Yvette Larson and Finn Taylor were sunbathing at the beach. Finn, I just took a look at the company's financial report. It's only been a week, but we've already lost half of our assets. Yvette Larson still had no idea what her husband was planning and was rather worried about the state the company was in. Just half. That's a little slow. Yvette Larson shrugged. I really don't understand what's going on, but I'm sure Finn has a reason for doing all this. This was just the second thing that happened in San Francisco lately. The third was that a new company named South City had been established. Of course, there were countless companies being established in such a huge city every day, and the establishment of a new one shouldn't be news. However, this company was different. The moment they appeared, they clinched a project worth $1 billion. That was a huge sum of money, probably more than what 99% of the companies in San Francisco were worth. Things were starting to heat up in the city's business circle. Three strong powers were coming up: Finn Taylor and the Gold family, Quince Larson and Willow Stone, and Melanie Taylor and Levi Taylor. The three powers pretty much ruled the entire city, and Finn Taylor's company was now the weakest amongst the three. Everyone knew that they were on the decline. Even those who Quince Larson hadn't sought out earlier had taken the initiative to approach them. They were probably trying to find a way out for themselves because they saw no hope in Finn Taylor's company. It was under such circumstances that Finn Taylor received a message from Willow Stone. Master Peregrine, I'll wait for you at room 303 of Rocky Hills Hotel. Finn Taylor frowned as he read the message. He then smiled without saying a thing. When he returned home, Finn Taylor spotted his mother-in-law scolding Diane Taylor. What's going on, Mom? Her cooking has gotten worse. I just lectured her, and she started crying. Slightly suspicious, Finn Taylor took a taste of the food in the pot. It tastes the same as before. What do you mean? Things are different now. I'm a chairman now, and how can a chairman eat something like that? Finn Taylor chuckled. Just as I expected, she's up to her antics again. Just because she has a little status now, she has forgotten all about what happened in the past. Mr. Taylor, Diane Taylor felt aggrieved. Come over. Finn Taylor called the young girl to the living room. Diane, here is $1,500. Make a trip to San Diego and stay with your sister for the time being. And no, Mr. Taylor. Don't chase me away. I don't blame her. It's true that I haven't gotten better at cooking. Finn Taylor shook his head. Listen to me. Take this and go to San Diego. Something has happened in the family. I'll pick you up as soon as we resolve the matter. He then stuffed the stack of cash into the other's hands. Tears welled up in Diane Taylor's eyes. Mr. Taylor, I've heard about what happened to the company. Please let me know if you need my help. He shook his head. No, just take this money and go to San Diego. Finn Taylor was about to leave when the young girl stopped him. Hold on, Mr. Taylor. He turned back to see the young girl kneeling down on the ground. Please stay safe, Mr. Taylor. He quickly rushed back to help the other up from the ground. I think Diane is mistaken. She probably thinks that my life is in danger since the company is on the brink of bankruptcy. Finn Taylor wanted to explain himself, but it wasn't the right time for that. With no other choice, he left the room. When Finn Taylor walked out of the room, he spotted his parents-in-law discussing whether to fire Diane Taylor and to hire a professional caretaker. After all, Diane Taylor was only a college student, not a professional. This meant that she wasn't exceptionally skilled in many areas. However, Finn Taylor told the other directly, don't even think about it, Mom. We won't hire another caretaker. Linda James slammed her hand on the table. What do you mean, Finn? Can't I fire her? She doesn't cook well. She doesn't cook well. You've been eating it for months. Why didn't you say so earlier then? That was the past. It's different now. Why? You weren't the chairman in the past and didn't dare to fire her then. Do you think you can interfere in how we run this family just because you're the chairman now? Linda James was fuming. Finn Taylor had been spot on. Just then, Yvette Larson returned. Yvette, just look at what your husband is doing. He's so disrespectful. I wanted to fire Diane and hire a new caretaker, but he said that it's none of my business. Yvette Larson was reasonable and knew that her husband wouldn't get into an argument with her mom for no reason. Mom must have done something again. Mom, why do you want to fire Diane? Did she do something wrong? What, are you going to lecture me for firing a caretaker as well? Finn Taylor could no longer tolerate the other. There's no way you're going to fire her as long as I'm here. As long as you're here. Finn, don't forget that you've already transferred ownership of this house to Yvette and the shares to us. What do you still have here? Mom, what are you saying? Linda James's words were mean. Finn Taylor had only done all that out of love for them, yet his mother-in-law was using that as a threat against him. Yvette Larson picked up her husband's hand and stomped back to her room without caring about her mother. Diane Taylor quickly slipped away with the money as well. Only Linda James was left in the living room, still fuming. At dinner time, Finn Taylor turned to his wife. "Yvette, I'm going out for a while." Before Yvette Larson could say anything, Linda James spoke up. "Who is going to wash the dishes if you go out?" "I'll do it," Yvette Larson replied. "Ha, you're so skinny. Yvette, have you ever thought about why he's going out so late at night? Does he have a mistress? Is he going to abandon you?" This time, Yvette Larson burst out. "Mom, do you really want us to get a divorce before you'll be satisfied?" "Get a divorce then. What does he even have now? He doesn't have a house or a company. He's living on our accounts now. Mom, this is our family's house, not mine alone. I don't care. What I know is that this house has nothing to do with him." Yvette Larson patted her husband's back. "Leave if you have to. Stay safe and come back early." Evidently, Yvette Larson no longer wanted to talk to her mother. There was no point in trying to reason with someone like that. Finn Taylor nodded and left. Yvette Larson quickly started picking up the dishes, ignoring her mother. Linda James gritted her teeth. "Everyone is ignoring me." After leaving Pacific Heights, Finn Taylor headed for Rocky Hills Hotel. He knocked on the door of room 303. Willow Stone opened the door with a smile, quickly inviting the other in. On the other hand, Finn Taylor's expression was one of indifference. It was this cold expression that displeased Willow Stone. "I dressed myself up for your visit today, but you're acting like you see nothing. How am I supposed to not get angry?" "Didn't you see me?" "I saw you," Willow Stone asked, but it probably would have been better if she had kept mum. She hadn't gotten the intended reaction. He walked in and sat himself in a chair, not saying a word. "Are you dead? Didn't you hear me talking to you? Is there a point in asking a question like this? Why did you call me here today?" "What? It seems like Master Peregrine is getting frantic. You know my identity is Master Peregrine, so it seems like your background isn't that simple. Yvette and Clarine worried about you for years for nothing." While in school, Willow Stone looked very pitiful, as if she would go hungry without help. That was why her friends had always been so concerned about her. However, it seemed like it had been unnecessary. "I didn't hide anything, I just didn't let them know that my family is rich. They misunderstood the situation." "Don't you feel bad for saying that?" Willow Stone didn't retort because she did indeed feel a little guilty. "So why did you ask me to come here?" "Since I already know of your identity as Master Peregrine, I know about Chicago's Taylor family and Southeast Asia's Taylor family too. I want to work with you to defeat them." "Give me a reason." "Collaborate." "That's fine, but why should I work with you?" Finn Taylor wanted to know the other's intentions. "Because the Taylor family from Southeast Asia is our common enemy." "The Taylor family is your family's enemy." "Of course not. They are not worthy of being called our enemies. It's the family supporting them in Europe that is our true enemy. However, I'd be happy enough to get rid of the Taylor family too." Finn Taylor chuckled. "We could work together, but you should be sincere at the very least. You should know how much I hate Quince Larson, but you're working with him." "Working with him? Am I wrong? Do you think he's worthy of that?" Finn Taylor chuckled. "I guess I underestimated Willow Stone. She's trying to turn the tides and torture Quince Larson with me. Actually, I've been quite curious about something. I'm sure you'd be able to crush Quince Larson under your feet with no effort at all. Why did you have to put on an act? It's easy to deal with him, but just like you said, he has someone backing him." Willow Stone finally understood the other. "No wonder I always thought that he resembled me. It's true that our lives mirror each other's." Of course, Finn Taylor had realized that Willow Stone was similar to himself. However, he hadn't acted on it. After all, he couldn't tell if it was genuine or whether Willow Stone was simply putting on an act to win him over. But that didn't matter. It was alright if Willow Stone wanted to work together, but she would be overestimating herself if she thought that this would bring her a step closer to him. Finn Taylor liked Yvette Larson not because of her beauty, even though she was gorgeous, but the warmth he gave her. The couple had gone through too much over the past 3 years. In the past 3 years, everyone had humiliated him, and Yvette Larson had seemed to join in on the surface. But in reality, she never once shirked away from defending him if someone tried to harm him. Every time the Larson family tried to hurt him, his wife was the only one who stood up for him. That was as far as the collaboration between Finn Taylor and Willow Stone would go. Finn Taylor then left the hotel, had promised to return home early. "Finn Taylor, can I ask you a question?" Without even knowing what she wanted to ask, Finn Taylor refused. "I think you're better off not asking anything. My answer will probably disappoint you." Disappointment was written all over Willow Stone's face. Does Finn Taylor really not like me? I'm the eldest daughter of the Stone family. Do I really mean nothing to Finn Taylor? When he arrived home, he realized that his wife was still awake. She was lying on the sofa, watching television. Finn Taylor walked over and asked, "Why are you still awake?" "I made supper. I was waiting to have it with you." "Sounds good." Plunk. Suddenly, the lights were flicked on. All the lights in the house were turned on. "Finn Taylor, which bitch were you with? Look at the time, it's almost midnight. Why did you come back so late?" Linda James stood at the stairwell, looking down at the couple as she chided her son-in-law. "Mom, can you stop being so unreasonable?" Before her spouse even said a word, Yvette Larson defended him. She couldn't stand how her mother was acting. In the past, Yvette Larson hadn't thought much of this because the rest of the family had done so too. But now that they had already defeated the Larson family, Linda James was still acting like this. This wasn't the life she wanted to lead. What she wanted most was peace. "Mom, do you really want us to get a divorce before you'll be satisfied?" Linda James shook her head. "I don't want you to get a divorce. I want him to leave with nothing." Yvette Larson questioned her. Why should he need to leave with nothing? Otherwise, what does he want to take away with him? What belongs to him? The house, the company. "Mom, you're really shameless. Finn was the one who bought the house and transferred those shares to you. Don't you feel bad asking him to leave?" Linda James was so infuriated that she slammed the door shut. Even after she returned to her room, they heard her screaming, "I'm your mom. How dare you call me shameless?" Linda James was enraged, but her daughter was even more infuriated. Yvette Larson turned to her husband. "I finally realized that the problems we've faced aren't because of anyone else but from within our family. I'll have to teach her a lesson." Within the next week, developments happened so quickly within the city's business circle that it stumped many. Amongst the changes, the greatest was Melanie Taylor and Levi Taylor's new company receiving a huge sum of investment, forcing many other companies into bankruptcy. Of course, Melanie Taylor then acquired these companies. The Taylor siblings now held nearly 2/3 of all businesses in the city. They then called for a press conference and invited everyone within the business world. Everyone that naturally included the Larson family. Yvette Larson, Finn Taylor, Frances Larson, and Linda James all received an invitation. It was Linda James's first time receiving an invitation like that, and she was over the moon. However, her mood soured when she saw that her son-in-law had received one as well. "Why do you have one too?" Yvette Larson glared at her. "What's wrong with us receiving invitations? No, we're the chairman of the company now, while you were the chairman before us, so it's only right that we receive invitations. However, why should he get one too?" Linda James pointed at her son-in-law in disbelief. It was obvious what she meant. Finn Taylor had never held a position in the company, so why should he receive an invitation too? Yvette Larson dragged her husband away, not letting her mother continue. Even she didn't want to hear such things, much less her husband. As Finn Taylor walked out of the house, he received a message from Hunter Sullivan. Hence, he headed to the latter's residence. As expected, all 4 guardians were present. Master Peregrine. The 4 men bowed to him. Finn Taylor nodded. As they stood up, they showed their boss their invitations. "Master Peregrine, this invitation." Finn Taylor nodded. "I'm not hiding anything from you. Melanie Taylor and Levi Taylor are from the Taylor family too, but they're not from Chicago's Taylor family but Southeast Asia's." The Taylor family from Southeast Asia. The 4 men were dumbfounded. None of them had heard of that family before. "Master Peregrine, what's that?" "My great-grandpa had an elder brother, and they fought for the position of family head. After losing to my great-grandpa, his elder brother left and managed to establish a new family in Southeast Asia. I guess they're now established and want to get their rightful positions back." Hunter Sullivan finally understood the situation now. "Do you have any instructions for us, Master Peregrine? Remember to protect Yvette during the party tomorrow." "All right." They naturally agreed. Yvette Larson treated them well and was down to earth. Naturally, they were willing to protect someone like this. The next day, the press conference officially began. Those who wanted to suck up to the Taylor siblings naturally made their way to the venue bright and early. Unfortunately, their efforts were in vain. Given the siblings' personalities, there was no way they would arrive so early. It was good enough that they showed up on time, let alone be early. Finn Taylor had learned that as a child too. Apparently, it was better to turn up late for parties like this. Firstly, it would show that they were busy. Secondly, it was to establish one's status. After all, the party wouldn't start without them. Finn Taylor felt that it was ridiculous. Nonetheless, he was sure that his relatives would follow those principles. On the other hand, Linda James was rushing the family out of the house way ahead of time. Even though it was her first time attending an event like this, she pretended as though she knew exactly what she was doing after arriving. She even reminded her son-in-law, Finn, you shouldn't even have gotten the chance to be here. It's probably because our whole family is here that they sent you an invitation by accident too. Remember to keep quiet later and not draw any attention to yourself. How ridiculous. They're organizing this party for me, yet my mother-in-law is saying such things. Time ticked by. Finally, it was time for the party to start. However, neither Melanie Taylor nor Levi Taylor had arrived. I knew they weren't going to be on time. Why isn't Ms. Taylor here yet? That's right, Mr. Taylor isn't here either. Do you think they got into an accident? I think they're just very busy, so every second counts. Finn Taylor couldn't help but sneer. It's clearly rude to be late, but they're being forgiven just because they're affluent. And it's even logical and alright for them to be late. Sigh, some people really deserve a beating. An hour later, a Rolls-Royce finally stopped in front of the hotel. The Taylor siblings got out of the car, looking like a perfect match as they walked toward the ballroom. Mr. Taylor, Ms. Taylor, you guys are finally here. I was so worried about you earlier. Me too, I was worried that we were bothering you guys. The siblings were already used to such flattery, and they simply nodded without replying. However, that simple nod was enough for the crowd. The pair walked onto the stage. Hello, everyone, we got a little caught up with something. Please have your fill tonight. With that said, the siblings left the party. Finn Taylor had guessed that this would happen too. This was commonly done in high society. They thought that it would create a sense of guilt in the attendees for wasting their time. Finn Taylor had to admit that these people were right. That was exactly what he was hearing from the people around him. Yvette, take a look at this wine. Isn't it that Romane Conti? Francis Larson was emotional as he tugged on his daughter's arm and asked her to pour him a glass. Romane Conti. Finn Taylor turned around to glance at the wine. Dad, do you like it? Yes, but I've never tried it. Finn Taylor walked over and brought the whole bottle of wine over. This naturally drew ire from many around him. Everyone here paid close attention to their own appearances. No matter how much they liked something, they would try to maintain their elegance and dignity. Finn Taylor's actions were the exact opposite of that. Finn, why did you bring the whole bottle over? You said that you liked it. You can tell me what you like, I'll bring it over for you. His father-in-law was about to say something, but the temptation was too great to resist. He couldn't say a thing after his son-in-law popped the wine's cork. But Linda James was different, and she pointed at the latter. Who allowed you to bring this over? You're going to kill all of us. Afraid that her mom would say something nasty, Yvette Larson quickly tried to mediate between them. Alright, he's already done it. There's no point in saying anything now. Linda James harumphed. Fine, I won't say anything here, but just wait and see how I'll deal with you once we get home. Right then, the Taylor siblings returned. The siblings quickly became the center of attention as they cut through the crowd and stopped in front of Finn Taylor. Melanie Taylor took out a document. Sign this, and I'll give you 10 billion. Melanie Taylor's words caused pin-drop silence in the ballroom. Everyone's hearts thumped rapidly. What's going on? Who is he? What is Melanie Taylor trying to get him to sign? Besides, what could possibly be worth $10 billion? It's $10 billion, not $10. What could cost such an astronomical sum? It wasn't just the others who were dumbfounded. Evan Yvette Larson, Francis Larson, and Linda James were as well. Finn Taylor picked up the document and scanned it before smirking. Did you think that I would sign this? The document recorded all the shameless things Emmanuel Taylor had done, causing Eugene Taylor to lose out on the family head position. Now, Finn Taylor was going to hand over the position of family head to the latter's descendant Levi Taylor. I believe you'll sign it because you don't have a choice. You've already seen how much money we've gotten. Your company is on the verge of bankruptcy. I could acquire all the companies represented here if I wanted to. Oh, is that so? Why don't you acquire mine then? Finn Taylor then ripped the document into shreds. Timothy Taylor, are you courting death, or do you want the entire Taylor family to break apart? Break apart? Which Taylor family are you referring to? Finn Taylor flung the shreds into the air before turning away. Beat him up. Melanie Taylor commanded someone to go after Finn Taylor as though she had gone crazy. Just then, the four guardians stood forward. They quickly formed a human wall around Yvette Larson, blocking Melanie Taylor from attacking the latter. As for the latter's parents, they had escaped the moment they noticed something amiss. In the end, Melanie Taylor achieved nothing with her party. Enraged, She announced that she would use all means to go against Finn Taylor as well as the Larson Corporation. She wanted the family dead. Melanie Taylor made huge waves in San Francisco. She had managed to take control of almost 2/3 of the city's companies within the short span of a few days. It was obvious just how powerful she was. It was clear what was in store for Finn Taylor now that she was targeting him. He was done for, and so was the Larson family. Even the most powerful family in San Francisco, the Gold family, was done for. Back home, Linda James was furious. She had gone to the party in high spirits. Even though it was her first time at such an event, she loved it. In fact, she even thought of herself as the party's center of attention. However, Finn Taylor had ruined all that, had ruined everything. Finn Taylor, are you stupid? She just asked you to sign an agreement, and you would have gotten $10 billion. Why didn't you sign it? Not only do you not have $10 billion now, but she even wants the Larson family dead. Her daughter corrected her. She wants the Taylor family dead. The Taylor family? I'm sure she's talking about the Larson family. How big could the Taylor family be? Isn't he the only one from the family? You'll discover the inception of this content at N0V at Elbin. Finn Taylor knew that he couldn't afford to keep this under wraps anymore, so he said blandly, "It's the Taylor family they're after. They want the Taylor family dead." Linda James remained indifferent. Which Taylor family? Her son-in-law replied, "Chicago's Taylor family." See, Chicago's Taylor family? Linda James's voice faltered, her lips quivered, and disbelief filled her eyes. What nonsense are you spouting? She was clearly talking about the Larson family. Chicago's Taylor family. Although Linda James said so, she was in a panic inwardly. This was clear from how she was peeking at her son-in-law from the corner of her eye. I'm the young master of Chicago's Taylor family, the most powerful family in the country. I'm also the head of Peregrine Hall, Master Peregrine. Melanie Taylor is the descendant of my great-grandpa's elder brothers and the princess of Southeast Asia's Taylor family. Levi Taylor is the young master of the family. The two of them are back this time to kick us out of the Taylor family's residence so that they can take our place. The document she wanted me to sign was full of lies about how my great-grandpa set his elder brother up, causing them to leave Chicago and head for Southeast Asia. Now that they're back, they want everything that belongs to them. There's no way I'll sign that document no matter how much you offer me. Every word Finn Taylor said unveiled a new world to the family. It was unbelievable. Chicago's Taylor family, the most powerful family in the whole country, and Finn Taylor is the family's young master. Does that mean that Wendy Jensen is the family's matriarch? Linda James was aghast, and she felt a chill run down her spine as she suddenly thought of the Taylor family from Southeast Asia. Finn, let me ask you something. You must be honest with me. Is the Taylor family from Southeast Asia really that powerful? How confident are you in defeating the siblings? Finn Taylor remained silent for a long while before stretching a finger out. 10%. 10% at the very most. It might not even be 10%. The Taylor family looked strong, and according to Willow Stone, they also had an even more powerful backer in Europe. If they were to compare their assets, Chicago's Taylor family wouldn't even match up to them. Besides, Finn Taylor didn't even have full say here. This meant that he was left with even less than that. As such, he didn't even think that he had a 10% chance of winning the battle against Melanie Taylor and Levi Taylor. Before this, Linda James had been in awe of her son-in-law just moments earlier. However, her expression immediately changed as she headed up the stairs without even sparing the latter a glance. Confused, her husband rushed up the stairs after her. What are you doing? Don't you know what will happen to us once Southeast Asia's Taylor family bankrupts the Chicago one? Linda James questioned her husband. What are you trying to do? What am I trying to do? Have you never thought about what to do now that we are on the brink of death? What do you really want to do? I want Yvette to get a divorce from him. A divorce? Are you kidding? He's the young master of Chicago's Taylor family. How can you ask your daughter to get a divorce from him? So what if he's from Chicago's Taylor family? He himself said that he doesn't have a 10% chance against the other family. Do you want to die with him? It's better that they get a divorce. That's right, Linda, do you not have a conscience? The company and this house are all ours only because of Finn. Do you think we would be staying in number 1 Pacific Heights without his money? Money. Yes, there's still money. I won't let them get a divorce so easily. Yvette wasted so many years of her youth on him. He has to compensate her for that. Linda, have you gone mad? Forget it. Why don't you tell Yvette that? Let's see if she agrees to a divorce. I naturally won't tell Yvette that. I'll tell Finn Taylor that he can't let my daughter weather the storms with him since he claims to love her so much. I don't want to get involved, and Linda has lost it. Money is such a strange thing. It can make someone completely lose their mind. Linda has really gone too far out. The next day, Yvette Larson headed to work as per normal. Finn Taylor was just about to head out to resolve his problems when his mother-in-law stopped him. "Don't go out just yet, Finn. I have something to talk to you about." He looked back, having his own suspicions. She's being exceptionally polite today. That's strange. What is she up to? Linda James looked at the man and asked, "Finn, have you thought about it? What will happen if you lose this fight against the Taylor family from Southeast Asia?" Finn Taylor was stumped. "I never expected Linda James to ask me about this. Besides, I've never really thought about it." "Have you not thought about it? The answer is simple. You'll become homeless and a beggar. As your wife, Yvette will become a beggar too, a beggar despised by everyone." Finn Taylor was clearly hurt by his mother-in-law's words. He wanted to rebut her, but he held his tongue. He had no way of rebuking her because that was the truth. "If I do lose, Yvette will indeed have to suffer alongside me and become a beggar." "I won't lose, Mom. I'll definitely win." Linda James waved him off. "Don't spout nonsense. You admitted to having less than a 10% chance of winning. If you're really thinking about Yvette, you should get a divorce from her. If you win, I'll definitely let you guys get back together. If you lose, I'll thank you for being selfless." Finn Taylor's hand was trembling. He had never been this emotional. How dare Linda James ask me to divorce Yvette? I've treated them so well, yet she dares to say something like that. Scram, I'll never get a divorce from Yvette. Finn Taylor no longer wanted to hear what the other had to say and walked away. As he walked to the door, he heard the latter say, "Finn, I know that the reason you're against a divorce isn't that you love Yvette but that you're selfish. You're just trying to find excuses for yourself." Finn Taylor cupped his ears, rushed into his car, and sped off with incredible speed. That day, he drove around the entire city, eventually parking in an alley. Finn Taylor got out of the car and walked deeper into the alley but was stopped by two muscular men. Then, the former quickly took punches all over and was beaten to the ground. This was an underground arena where the wealthy liked to gather and make bets. Strong men were also able to earn money by fighting in the arena here since they won money every time they entered a match. Of course, the winner would win more than the other. Finn Taylor walked in and headed straight for the fighting ring. However, there was still an ongoing match, and the winner hadn't been determined yet. Finn Taylor's sudden entrance threw everyone off. Before anyone could regain their senses, the intruder was punched to the ground by the two fighters. Now, the entire venue was in an uproar. A challenge. Everyone finally understood the situation. Someone was here to offer a challenge. It had been years since this had happened, and the crowd erupted into cheers. You'll discover the inception of this content at N0V at Elbin. Everyone was in high spirits. The staff of the arena recognized the importance of the situation as well, and they immediately sent someone to subdue Finn Taylor. The first one up was a typical muscular man, yet he was beaten down in just one punch. The second was a professional Muay Thai athlete, and he too was struck down in just one blow. Finn Taylor managed to defeat two professionals with just one punch. Even that Muay Thai master. This is so strange. That guy is one of the best around here, yet he got knocked out so easily. Finally, the people in the underground arena no longer dared to take the situation lightly and sent 10 fighters out. The challenge in the ring was still ongoing. One by one, the matches grew longer in length as the more skilled fighters entered the ring. Yet, the result remained unchanged. Not a single one of them won. Of course, word of this spread like wildfire. Pacific Heights, Hunter Sullivan's residence. Horned Serpent had rushed here. "Hunter, Hunter." Hunter Sullivan was stunned. "Why are you in such a hurry? Is your house on fire?" "Something is wrong. Something is wrong." Hunter Sullivan was still unaware of the situation and was thus able to keep his cool. Finn Taylor is at the underground arena and has already defeated dozens of fighters. Hunter Sullivan's breath hitched, and he jolted up from his seat. "What? Where is he? Bring me there at once." He then informed the remaining 2 guardians, and the 4 of them rushed toward the underground arena together. At the underground arena, dozens of people had collapsed beside Finn Taylor, each moaning in pain. These men had charged toward Finn Taylor to challenge the latter earlier, but they had all faced the same fate. Who would have thought that this would be the result of a challenge to the arena? Eventually, the person in charge could no longer take the pressure. He trembled as he walked up toward Finn Taylor, who simply got himself ready for battle. Don't. Sir, I'm not here to challenge you. I'm not that skilled. I'm just the person who runs this place. Can I ask if we have offended you?" Finn Taylor stood still as he asked, "Do you have any other fighters?" Yes, but they aren't any good. Finn Taylor waved him off. Forget it then. By the time the four guardians arrived, the challenge had already ended. They breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing that their boss was doing just fine. Why are you guys here, Mr. Sullivan? The man in charge of the arena recognized the other. Hunter Sullivan pointed at Finn Taylor. He's my boss. He didn't try to beat around the bush. The man in charge suddenly understood the situation. I see. The men who were beaten up are our men, but they're fine. Don't worry, Mr. Sullivan. Hunter Sullivan nodded. How much damage did he cause? We'll pay for it. You must be joking, Mr. Sullivan. It's a huge honor that you're here. How could we take your money? Along the way back, the four guardians were treated to Finn Taylor's street racing, yet again. Their boss was acting out of the ordinary, and the four guardians knew that something must have happened. Master Peregrine, can you tell us what's going on? The four men felt as though their hearts were in their mouths. Finn Taylor slammed on the brakes, and the four men were thrown forward, nearly flying out of the car. Finn Taylor picked up a cigarette and lit it. Linda James asked me to divorce Yvette. The men were stunned. What? It's because I don't have a 10% chance of winning against Melanie Taylor. But I'm sure Yvette won't get a divorce from you. She'll definitely stay by your side. That's right, Linda James is so selfish. Just ignore her. Selfish, I can't deny that she's right. After all, even I'm not confident of winning this battle. The car fell into silence. A long while passed before Hunter Sullivan finally asked, are you really going to get a divorce? Finn Taylor happened to finish his cigarette. He stubbed it and flung it into the trash can nearby before slamming down on the accelerator. There was no answer to that question. By now, Finn Taylor was on the verge of exploding. Though left with no answer, the Guardians didn't dare to probe any further. They didn't want to tempt fate. However, Hunter Sullivan truly pitied those fighters in the underground arena. Why did they have to provoke him? They got beaten up for nothing. Finn Taylor drove up to Hunter Sullivan's residence on Pacific Heights. Bring out your wine, Finn Taylor immediately commanded the latter upon entering. Naturally, the latter wasn't going to refuse. It seems like my boss is ready to lose himself in alcohol. He gestured for the other three men to follow him. Hunter Sullivan had a vast collection of wine, and the four men carried the entire collection. They're just like pirates. They're just using Finn Taylor as an excuse to rob me of my wine. However, Hunter Sullivan wasn't stingy and had no intention of holding anything back from the rest, nor was Master Peregrine going to hold back. Master Peregrine gulped down bottle after bottle, leaving his subordinates looking on with trepidation. All four of them could tell that Finn Taylor was in great pain. Otherwise, he would never hurt himself like this. Although they all accompanied the heartbroken man as he drank, none of them dared to speak loudly, for fear that they would accidentally provoke the former. That night, Finn Taylor lost himself in alcohol. Naturally, he spent the night away from home. It was Hunter Sullivan who made a call to the former's wife to inform her where her husband was. With the night wind blowing outside, Yvette Larson felt exceptionally cold now that she was left alone in the room. She didn't just feel physically cold. For some reason, she could also feel shivers within her body. It seemed as though something was going to go horribly wrong, but she couldn't put her finger on it. The next day, she woke up bright and early. However, her husband still wasn't back. Don't bother looking for him. He must be sleeping with some other woman. Linda James didn't miss out on the chance to make a jab at her daughter as though it would benefit her. Yvette Larson could hardly be bothered with her mother and simply left the house. However, Linda James was over the moon. Finn has never done this. His abnormal behavior must mean that he's starting to hesitate. I guess it won't be long before they get a divorce. When Hunter Sullivan awoke, he realized that his boss was already gone. He tried calling the latter but couldn't get through. Rocky Hills Hotel, room 303. Willow Stone gazed at Finn Taylor, a smile evident on her face. This is your first time taking the initiative to visit me. Finn Taylor's expression was dark as he took out a cigarette. The other coughed as she choked on the smoke. Even though she could hardly stand the smoke, she asked, "Why are you here?" "Be my girlfriend." Cough, cough. Willow Stone had choked on the smoke earlier, but she was now coughing because of Finn Taylor's words. "What did you say?" Disbelief was written all over Willow Stone's face. She wondered if she was in a dream. "I want to divorce Yvette, so I want you to put on a show and act as my girlfriend." Willow Stone stared at him with her jaw dropped. For some reason, she didn't feel happy even after learning that the couple was going to get a divorce. This was what she was looking forward to, yet she couldn't seem to get her spirits up. "What kind of joke are you playing on me? Why would you suddenly want to get a divorce? Can't you tell? Willow Stone came to a sudden realization. Oh, Southeast Asia's Taylor family. I guess you don't want to drag Yvette Larson down if you lose. Finn Taylor placed a card down. Here is $150,000. It should be enough for this act. With that, he left. Willow Stone tried to keep him but couldn't bring herself to do so. Even if he divorces Yvette Larson, I stand no chance at all. This so-called divorce, an act is all for her sake. Yvette Larson drove to the office, but something felt amiss when she entered. All of a sudden, her assistant ran up to her. Ms. Larson, Quince Larson is here. It had been a while since Yvette Larson had come to the office. Ever since Finn Taylor had transferred ownership of the company to her parents, he had instructed her not to interfere with the company's matters. Since then, the company had gotten into quite a lot of trouble. Even though she had heard about the troubles, she had chosen not to get involved out of her trust in her husband. She was only here because her mother had frustrated her too much. Who would have thought that this would happen? Where's he? In the meeting room. You'll discover the inception of this content at N0V at Elbin. Yvette Larson nodded before heading there. As she walked into the room, she spotted her cousin leaning back against the chair, sipping on some tea. Oh, you're finally here in the office. Yvette Larson sat down and looked at the other. Why are you here? This is the Larson Corporation. Why can't I be here? You sold the company. It doesn't have anything to do with you anymore. But I heard that you guys were saying how this is the Larson family's company. Since that's the case, I'm welcome to be here. Stop pretending. What are you really here for? Yvette, I bet you still have no idea about Finn Taylor's true identity. He's being targeted by Melanie Taylor now. Aren't you afraid? Yvette Larson was slightly stumped. I only found out about Finn's identity yesterday, but my cousin knew about it before that. Her cousin replied, Chicago's Taylor family may be famous, but unfortunately, Finn Taylor is the jinx of the family, not the saint. Not a single person in the Taylor family likes him. I bet you don't know about that, do you? Yvette Larson, I'm here to tell you that almost all of your clients are gone. It won't be long before you have to declare bankruptcy. I'm sure you can see that the Taylor siblings are targeting you as well. Instead of letting the company go under, why don't you sell it to me for a good price? After all, it's the Larson family's company. It's only right that I inherit the company as the family's eldest grandson. Scram, I'm not selling it, never. Yvette Larson flared up. Finn put in so much effort into obtaining the company from Quince Larson. How could I sell it? I'd be letting him down if I sell it. Quince Larson sighed and shook his head. How stubborn. As he said so, his cousin picked up a broom from the corner of the room and threw it at him, shouting, Scram. Now. Quince Larson hadn't expected his cousin to be so vicious as to really hit him. In pain, he didn't dare to stay any longer and quickly slipped away. Yvette Larson's mood was ruined by the morning's happenings, and she was in no mood to work. She sat at her desk in a daze for the entire morning and only left at lunchtime to get herself a bite. Yet, she couldn't find anything that whetted her appetite. Just like that, she ended up in front of a Starbucks. Her husband had often brought her there for coffee in the past, so the place brought her nostalgia. She walked into the cafe, but the sight that greeted her made her stop in her tracks. Her husband was having coffee with Willow Stone, and there was even a set of couple rings in front of the latter. Yvette Larson rushed over and questioned, Finn, Willow, why are you guys together? The couple raised their heads and turned to her. Finn Taylor's gaze seemed awfully unfamiliar. Why are you here, Yvette? Tell me what's going on. Her husband shrugged. Since you've already seen it, I'm not going to hide it from you. I'm in a relationship with Willow. Thud. Yvette Larson dropped the bag in her hand. That's impossible. How could you be in a relationship with Willow? You're Finn Taylor, how could you have an affair? The man smiled and put the ring on the table on Willow Stone's finger. She's prettier than you. His wife was still in a daze. That's absolutely impossible. It's been 3 years. We've gone through so much and haven't gotten a divorce. Why would you cheat on me now? Finn Taylor placed the other ring on his own finger. I already transferred all the company shares to Linda James, but look at how she treats me. Yvette, here are the divorce papers. Just sign them. With that, he took out a document bag. In it were the divorce papers. Finn Taylor pointed at the document and said, you guys can have the house and the company. I'll give everything to you, I'll leave with nothing. Here, sign it. Yvette Larson's hands were trembling. In fact, her whole body was shaking. She couldn't believe that her husband was now asking for a divorce. Resolutely, she replied, I'm not getting a divorce. With that said, she ran out of the cafe. Finn Taylor felt like his heart was being stabbed by thousands of needles as he watched his wife's departing figure. He took off the ring and picked up the bag from the ground before heading out. Just as he was about to leave, Willowstone said, "I like the ring you put on me." Finn Taylor turned around, his eyes dark. "You better take this secret to the grave. Otherwise, I'll make sure you die a horrible death." The other smirked. "Have you ever thought about how you're going to explain this to her if you win? Will she forgive you?" The man lit a cigarette. "You don't have to worry about that." After leaving Starbucks, Yvette Larson rushed all the way home and slammed her room door behind her. Of course, Linda James rushed in after her. Seeing her daughter tearing up, she said, "What, did you catch your husband with his mistress?" Because of those words, Yvette Larson burst out and started sobbing. From her daughter's expression, Linda James knew that she had successfully convinced her son-in-law. "See, didn't I tell you that Finn Taylor would go astray? You refused to believe me, but do you now see that I was only saying it for your good? Since he's cheated on you, he has to leave with nothing. We can't let him have the house or the company." Linda James's constant nagging enraged Yvette Larson. "Scram, hurry up and get out." The former was taken aback, but seeing that her daughter's behavior was out of the ordinary, she didn't dare to say anything more before leaving. She had no sooner left the room than she received a message from her son-in-law, "Come to the foot of Pacific Heights." Linda James was incensed when she read it. "You're asking an old woman to go down. Are you dead? Why can't you come up?" Linda James stomped out of the house and immediately lashed out when she saw Finn Taylor. "Are you dead? Why couldn't you go up? Why do I have to come down here?" The latter simply ignored her. "Here are the divorce papers, Yvette didn't sign them. Find a way to get her to sign them." Finn Taylor handed the documents over. Linda James had already expected this result. "My daughter is truly whipped for her husband now. It won't be easy to convince her to get a divorce." As she took the documents, she asked, "Do you really have a mistress? Does that have anything to do with you?" He shot back, "I've put money into this bank account, and it should be enough for the rest of Yvette's life. Hand it to her. Passcode is her birthday. If you dare to take anything for yourself, I'll make sure I deal with you." "Hey, what do you take me for? I love money, but I'll never steal from my own daughter." However, her curiosity was piqued. "How much is inside?" $5 billion. Linda James felt her knees weaken. When she found out that her son-in-law was the young master of Chicago's Taylor family, she had already expected him to be rich. However, she had never imagined that he would be able to give others $5 billion at a whim. Is this all for Yvette?" Finn Taylor rubbed his palms. "I've already told Yvette that I'll leave the house and company to you while I'll leave with nothing. I'll deal with Quince Larson too. Diane Taylor will be back in a few days to take care of Yvette. Don't you dare trouble her again." Linda James shook her head vigorously. "Of course not, I won't dare to do that. With $5 billion, who cares about Diane Taylor? I won't even care if he gets 10 Diane Taylors. And, what, there's more, are you her mom, or am I her mom? Do you think I don't understand her well? I'll take good care of her." Linda James was exceptionally polite toward Finn Taylor, and he couldn't help but sneer. "How ironic, she has always been so cold toward me over the past 3 years. The only time she's ever being nice is when we're getting a divorce." Linda James said, "Finn, you must love Yvette, right? What's she up to now?" Finn Taylor frowned. "What are you trying to say? Since you still love Yvette, I guess you won't mind me spreading the reason for your divorce, right? Yvette's reputation is important after all." Finn Taylor chuckled. Linda James is still Linda James. Although she says that it's for the sake of her daughter's reputation, it is actually for her own sake. She's afraid that others will criticize her for kicking her son-in-law away after he slaved off in their family for 3 years. However, Finn Taylor had already accounted for that. Otherwise, he would never hook up with Willowstone to force his wife to get a divorce from him. "As you wish. You still have a little conscience after all." Linda James then left with the divorce papers and the bank card, a smile plastered on her face. However, she didn't tell her daughter about the matter right away. She knew that it would only provoke the latter even further. She would have to find an opportune moment to bring it up. Only then would she succeed. As such, Linda James called her friends to arrange for a meet-up. She naturally knew the kind of people her friends were, gossipy and jealous women. As long as she told them about her daughter and son-in-law getting divorced because the latter had an affair, she was sure that news would soon get out. Then, Southeast Asia's Taylor family would also know that they had nothing to do with Finn Taylor. But the Taylor siblings had never once thought of dealing with the Larson family. From the very beginning, they had only targeted Finn Taylor. Besides, the only family they wanted broken was the Taylor family. It was only because of Linda James's pride that she thought that the Larson family was way above Finn Taylor. Linda James's friends had arrived at the meeting point way ahead of time, but the one who had called for the meeting hadn't arrived yet. They glanced at their watches. What is Linda James up to? Why isn't she here yet? It took another half an hour before Linda James finally appeared. What's wrong with you? What took you so long? Linda James was still panting. Don't talk about it, I'm so angry right now. Everyone's curiosity was piqued. What's going on? Is something wrong? Sigh. Alright, I'll be honest with you guys. My daughter is getting a divorce. Her best friends jolted up from their seats. What? Yvette is divorcing Finn Taylor. Although they often tried to one-up each other, Yvette Larson treated them well, and they doted on her. Hence, everyone was emotional upon hearing the news. Yes, she's getting a divorce from Finn Taylor. Why? Yes, weren't they very loving? Yes, I heard that they just went on a wedding photoshoot last month. Why are they suddenly getting divorced? Your family might not have been doing well before, but you run a company and even live in number 1 Pacific Heights. Why are they suddenly getting divorced? Nobody understood why the couple would separate. What's new? Finn Taylor has found himself a mistress. A mistress? Her best friends got even more agitated. That's impossible. Finn Taylor found a mistress. That can't be. Hasn't he always been very obedient? He always does whatever you ask without any complaints. Why would he suddenly get himself a mistress? Right, who is it? Linda James shook her head. I don't know either, but Yvette caught them together. Yvette Larson caught her husband cheating on her. The group of friends was left speechless. He was caught in the act. How can he possibly defend himself? After their gathering ended, the friends were no different from free loudspeakers. Very quickly, the entire city learned of the matter. Yvette Larson had planned to meet up with her best friend at a cafe because she was in a bad mood and needed the other's company. Just then, a young girl sitting at the table next to Yvette Larson glanced at her phone, then at Yvette Larson, and then at her phone again. She turned to her friends and asked, "Hey, isn't that Yvette Larson?" They took out their phones and glanced over before looking back at their phones. Yes, it's really her. I heard that she's getting divorced. Yes, what a tough life she has. She got married to a matrilocal son-in-law, and he cheated on her. The group of friends didn't even try to lower their voices, and the pair of best friends heard everything. Clarine Landon still had no idea about the matter, so she shot up from her seat. What nonsense are you spouting? Who told you that Yvette is getting divorced? Her loud voice scared the group, but they had only spoken the truth. She's already getting a divorce. Why can't we talk about it? Nonsense. Yvette and Finn have such a great relationship. How dare you smear their names like that? Smear their names? I'm not smearing their names. Why don't you go take a look at the news if you don't believe me? Everyone knows that Finn Taylor has a mistress and is getting divorced from Yvette Larson. Clarine Landon turned to her best friend in disbelief. Yvette, tell them that it's fake. Yvette Larson was still standing there in a daze. A mistress. Each word was like a stab to her heart. Yvette Larson remained silent, not rebutting them. This puzzled her friend, who couldn't bear to see the other being blindly accused. Clarine quickly paid for their meal before ushering her best friend out. However, their departure only proved to others that what they had said was indeed the truth. After leaving the cafe, the two best friends headed to a nearby park. Having taken their seats, Yvette Larson finally broke the silence. Clarine, what they said wasn't exactly wrong. Her best friend was slightly stunned. Are you serious? Are you guys really getting divorced? No, we haven't signed the papers, but I did catch Finn in the act. You caught him red-handed? With who? Clarine Landon was still in disbelief. Willowstone. When Yvette Larson said that, even Clarine Landon fell into silence. Clarine Landon had already known about Willowstone liking Finn Taylor. To be honest, even she liked the latter. However, she was nothing like her best friend. She knew that Finn Taylor was her other best friend's husband. No matter how much she liked the man, she couldn't possibly pursue him. Yet, Willowstone was different. She had fallen out with her two best friends ever since that charity ball. I saw Finn on a secret date with Willow, and he even bought her a ring. After I caught them in the act, he even put a ring on Willow's finger in front of me. Boo-hoo. The moment she spilled the truth, Yvette Larson could no longer hold back her tears. There was nothing her best friend could do other than hold her in her arms. When Yvette Larson dragged her exhausted body home, her mother whipped out the divorce papers. You're back. Finn sent these documents over just now. Take a look and sign them. Yvette Larson was too mentally exhausted. Her heart was broken, and her mind was blank. Without even glancing at the documents, she picked up the pen and signed them before returning to her room. Linda James's heart leapt with joy when she saw the signature. Her face was plastered with a smile as she stared at the papers. Look at you. Why are you so happy that your daughter is getting divorced? Francis Larson couldn't understand his wife. Every other parent would wish for their children to lead blissful lives, yet Linda James couldn't wait to see her daughter getting divorced. He couldn't wrap his mind around it. What do you know? Once Yvette divorces Finn, his matters won't drag us down. Do you really want your daughter to beg on the streets with that piece of trash? Francis Larson shook his head helplessly. I've ruined my life by marrying a wife like this. Linda James then took out the bank card. Guess what this is? Her husband sighed. A bank card. Why do you ask? Linda James cupped the card in her hands as though it was a precious treasure. It's not just any card, it's compensation from Finn Taylor. Guess how much is inside the account? $1,500. Francis Larson guessed a random number, but it incensed his wife. Francis Larson, why are you so useless? Can't you make a bold guess? How could you have the cheek to guess such a low number? Does that mean that you'll only give me $1,500 if we get a divorce? The man couldn't tolerate it any longer. Linda James, don't test my limits. Do you really want our entire family to fall apart? TCH. Linda James wasn't afraid of her husband. Who cares about what he has to say? My next sentence will shut him up. Remember, there are $5 billion in this account. What? Francis Larson jumped up from his seat. You didn't expect it, did you? Neither did I. Who would have thought he would have so much money? $5 billion. Francis Larson rushed over to snatch the card away from his wife. Hand this card to Yvette. Finn gave this to her, not you. He knew his wife well and knew that she would definitely waste the money away. Although there was no way Linda James would ever be able to finish spending $5 billion, Francis Larson couldn't put his mind at rest with his wife holding this sum of money. He had to hand it over to his daughter. Give it to me. Linda James snatched the card back. Yvette just got divorced. Do you want her to get more depressed by giving her something from Finn Taylor? I'll tell her about this when the time is right. Her husband pointed at the card, warning her sternly, I'm warning you not to touch a single cent in the account. She harumphed. What? Is this your money? Who are you to shout at me over it? But this time, the man wasn't going to back down. If you dare to spend a single cent of that money, I'll tell Yvette about it right away. In the face of her husband's resolute attitude, Linda James had no choice but to give in. Fine, I'll listen to you this time. I won't spend a single cent. Will that do? Are you sure? Francis Larson was slightly doubtful. What do you want me to do then? Do you want me to swear on my life? All right, swear on your life then. Linda James had never expected her husband to agree to that. What do you mean? Don't you even trust me after our decades of marriage? Her husband pointed at their daughter's room. Fine, I swear that I'll. Linda James stuttered for a long time before saying, I'll live in a kennel and eat dog food if I spend any money from the account. She refused to swear on her life, but her husband knew that there was no way he would be able to force her to go any further. Besides, he didn't really want to tell his daughter about this matter either. It wasn't because it wasn't the right time for that, but that he thought she would feel abandoned once she were to get this sum of money. After leaving number 1 Pacific Heights in the neighborhood, Finn Taylor had to find a place for himself. As such, he instructed Hunter Sullivan to purchase an apartment in Volca Gardens. He headed for the newly purchased residence. As he entered the neighborhood, he spotted 2 young girls with luggage all around them. One of the girls smiled at him. Hi, do you live here in this neighborhood? Finn Taylor was slightly stunned. Yes, we just moved here. My name is Michelle Yeller. Do you know how to get to number 6 Volca Gardens? How coincidental. Hunter Sullivan bought me an apartment at number 6 Volca Gardens too. He walked over and picked up the young girl's luggage. Follow me. With her bag in Finn Taylor's hands, Michelle Yeller had a much easier time since she was left with only one piece of baggage. However, the friend beside her rolled her eyes. Are you blind? Why didn't you take mine as well? Finn Taylor glanced back at the other girl. It was only then that he realized that Michelle Yeller was a sweet and dainty young girl, while the other standing beside her was a proud and arrogant young lady who seemed to think that everyone owed her money. He hated girls like that. Do I have an obligation to hold your things? That girl could hardly believe Finn Taylor's words. Her name was Josie Meyer. She was beautiful and had a nice voice. She had been surrounded by countless men since her childhood, and they had never once rejected any of her requests. Yet, this man was now telling her that he had no obligation to hold her bags. What are you saying? Are you not a man? You're stronger than me. Will you die helping me with my bag? Afraid that they would start a fight, Michelle Yeller walked up to her friend and picked up the latter's bag. Forget it, I'll take it. Why should you take it? He's a man, so shouldn't it be his responsibility to hold things for us? In fact, it's his honor to help us. Finn Taylor sneered when he heard that. Nonsense, he spat out. Ignoring that unreasonable young girl, he then turned toward number 6 Volca Gardens. Let's go. Michelle Yeller slung a bag over her shoulders while dragging another as she chased after the man. Although Josie Meyer was annoyed, she had no other choice but to follow after her friend. When they arrived at the building, Finn Taylor asked, "Which floor are you on?" Before Michelle Yeller could say anything, her friend cut in. "What? Why do you want to know where we live?" Finn Taylor merely sneered coldly before placing the bag down and heading into the elevator, pressing the button for the 9th floor. Seeing that the man had just abandoned them, Josie Meyer was furious and rushed up to reason it out with the former, leaving her friend to struggle with bringing the baggage into the elevator. Upon realizing that Finn Taylor was headed for the 9th floor, she yelled out, "I knew it, abast. How did you know where we live?" Finn Taylor took his key out from his pocket. "Not all men are bad. I live on the 9th floor too." By then, Michelle Yeller had moved all of their luggage into the elevator and was shocked to hear Finn Taylor's words. "Oh, so you live on the 9th floor too? I guess we're neighbors then. How coincidental." Finn Taylor took a liking to Michelle Yeller. She was polite and worlds apart from her friend standing next to her. When the elevator opened on the 9th floor, Finn Taylor helped the young girl with her luggage. Of course, he didn't spare her friend's luggage a glance. Michelle Yeller then opened her door and invited the man in. "Why don't you come in for a drink?" Finn Taylor politely refused, not wanting to hear any nonsense from her friend. Following that, he returned to his own apartment. It was truly a coincidence. When the two friends entered their apartment and closed their door, Josie Meyer started chiding the other like an elder sister. "Michelle, don't you think you're too gullible? Do you know that man? How could you tell him your name and where you live? But he doesn't look like a bad man. Will bad men tell the whole world that they're bad? I'm telling you that men are always after one thing, your beauty." Josie Meyer was convinced that all men were bad, but her friend didn't agree. However, there was no way of convincing the former. "Go unpack, I'll go get some necessities." Not wanting to get into an argument, Michelle Yeller found an excuse to get out of the house. She had no sooner stepped out of the house than she bumped into her neighbor. "Oh, you're heading out too?" Finn Taylor hadn't expected the young girl to be heading out at the same time. He quickly explained, "I just moved in, so I'm going to get some daily necessities." PFF'd. Michelle Yeller suppressed her laughter. "Me too, why don't we go together?" It was such a coincidence that they had moved in on the same day to the same neighborhood, were even neighbors, and were even heading out to purchase necessities at the same time. Such coincidences would probably only happen in novels. As they headed downstairs, Michelle Yeller tried to speak up for her friend. "My friend's name is Josie Meyer. She doesn't have any ill intentions, she's just wary of men." "Oh, I don't even know your name yet and haven't thanked you for your help earlier." Timothy Taylor. Finn Taylor didn't know why he chose to introduce himself with that name. Perhaps it was because he felt that Finn Taylor belonged to his wife. Now that he had gotten a divorce from her, he didn't want others to know him as Finn Taylor. "Timothy Taylor, that sounds grand. The supermarket is right ahead, let's go." As the duo headed to the cashier to pay, Michelle Yeller insisted on paying for Finn Taylor's items as a form of gratitude. Although the latter tried to refuse, the young girl insisted. Due to this, he could only accept it with thanks. After returning home, Finn Taylor was going to get his frozen lasagna out when he remembered that the young girls had just moved in and probably didn't have much to cook either. Thus, he made a little more to send over. When Michelle Yeller returned home, she told her friend what had happened. "When I went out, I bumped into him. His name is Timothy Taylor. I told you that he doesn't have any ill intentions. He showed us the way here and even helped us with our bags. I think he's not a bad man. Don't think of everyone as bad people." However, her friend didn't take this well. "What, you bumped into him again? I'm telling you that he probably harbors ill intentions." "No, we really bumped into each other. He just moved here and needed to buy some daily necessities." The more Josie Meyer heard her explanation, the more amiss things seemed. "It can't be that coincidental. Do you think he's already set his target on us?" Knock knock. Just then, the two girls heard knocks on their door. Josie Meyer grew even more anxious. The young girls knew nobody around the area, so logically speaking, nobody would knock on their door except for that evil man. Josie Meyer rushed to the door and glanced out of the peephole. Just as expected, it was that man. Who's that? Me. Why are you here? Didn't you say that you weren't going to come in? You're a man, so what are you trying to do by coming into our house? Finn Taylor didn't know what to say. Michelle, are you there? I made some lasagna. Why don't you open the door? Michelle Yeller was about to open the door, but her friend stopped her. Don't you dare open it. Who knows if he's a good guy? Josie, there aren't so many bad men in the world. With that, she opened the door. Her friend picked up the broom and glanced out of the door. It was only when she realized that Finn Taylor was indeed only carrying a tray of lasagna did she place the broom back in its original position. Well, didn't I tell you that Mr. Taylor isn't a bad man? You're just imagining things. Come on in and have a seat. Michelle Yeller welcomed their neighbor into their house, and she quickly cleaned the table. As Finn Taylor placed the tray down, Josie Meyer circled him as though he were a criminal. Eventually, she asked, is it really a coincidence that you moved in on the same day as us and even live next door to us? Otherwise, where are you from? Don't tell me that you knew us from before and followed us here. Hee hee, do you really think you're so beautiful that the world revolves around you? How lame. Besides, I didn't prepare any lasagna for you. I can't even have a bite of the lasagna. Fine. Josie Meyer was enraged by his words. Who cares for your lasagna? I'm not eating any. At that moment, her friend returned to the table with 3 sets of utensils. Josie Meyer said resolutely, you can go ahead. I'm not eating any of his food. Her friend was confused. What's going on? Come here, Michelle. Don't bother about her. She'll naturally get herself food once she gets hungry. With that, he took the 3 plates from the young girl, setting one in front of himself and one in front of the latter. He then placed the condiments on the last plate. It was clear that he had no intention of inviting the other girl to share the meal. Just like that, the duo started their meal. Josie Meyer could only stand by the side and watch. Of course, Finn Taylor wasn't petty. As long as Josie Meyer was willing to admit to her mistake, he wouldn't make things difficult for her. With about a quarter of the tray of lasagna left, Finn Taylor turned to glance at Josie Meyer. Michelle, wash the tray and send it over to my apartment later. He then left. After the man left, Josie Meyer took the opportunity to diss him yet again. He's a grown man, yet he's asking a woman to wash his dishes. Can't he do his own dishes? Are women supposed to do all household chores? Michelle Yeller knocked on her plate with her fork. He's letting you have the lasagna. Do you really think he wants me to wash the tray? Besides, what's wrong with helping to wash it after he made this for us? Of course, Josie Meyer understood that. She simply didn't want to admit defeat. After returning to his apartment, Finn Taylor felt empty for some reason. The apartment was void of Yvette Larson's laughter, Linda James's scoldings, and Frances Larson's sighs. It was completely quiet as though it was empty. At the same time, Yvette Larson was lying on the bed, feeling empty as well. It seemed as though everything had disappeared now that her husband was no longer by her side. She opened her closet, only to find that all of Finn Taylor's clothes were gone. She started searching the house for anything belonging to him, yet she found nothing, not even a sock. It was as though Finn Taylor had never appeared in her life. Just then, Diane Taylor returned. Yvette Larson was overwhelmed with emotions when she saw the young girl because it was Finn Taylor who had hired the latter. Her presence could at least prove that Finn Taylor had once been in her life. Diane, you're finally back. I missed you. Diane Taylor still had no idea what had happened. She had simply received a call from Finn Taylor, telling her to return and take good care of Yvette Larson. He even gave her detailed instructions on how to care for the latter, informing the young girl about his wife's likes and dislikes and even what she had to take note of during different weathers. To be honest, it was Diane Taylor's first time hearing her employer speaking in this manner. Something was amiss. Diane Taylor knew that something must have happened, but she didn't have any details. Nonetheless, she rushed back as quickly as she could. Ms. Yvette, can you tell me what's happened? Yvette Larson's whole body stiffened when she heard that. It was only after a long pause that she finally said, I've gotten a divorce from Finn. Shock. Utter shock. Diane Taylor was completely speechless and at a loss for words. She had no idea how to react to the news. Thousands of scenarios had run through her mind, but this had never occurred to her. Finn Taylor and Yvette Larson have gotten a divorce. That's impossible, that really is impossible. I've seen just how much they've gone through together and how loving they are. Even I'm envious of how sweet they are to each other. I've only been gone for a few days. Why would they suddenly get divorced? Ms. Yvette, has there been a misunderstanding? Why did you suddenly get divorced? Just then, Linda James walked over. Finn Taylor has a mistress, and Yvette caught him in the act. Diane Taylor grew even more suspicious after hearing that. She knew exactly how Finn Taylor was as a person, so there was no way he would do something like that. Ms. Yvette, did you really catch him in the act? Yvette Larson nodded. Do you think they could be just friends? Just like Mr. Taylor and me? Yvette Larson shook her head. Finn bought a pair of rings, and he put the ring on that woman when I caught them. Diane Taylor wanted to speak up for her employer, but there was nothing she could say now that things had progressed to this stage. Ms. Yvette, you must believe in Mr. Taylor. I'm sure he has his reasons. Afraid that the young girl would convince her daughter, Linda James quickly stepped in. What reasons could he possibly have? Yvette already caught him in the act. All right, let's not talk about him and ruin our mood. Diane Taylor had no choice but to drop the topic. However, there was no way she would believe that Finn Taylor would cheat on his wife. Finn Taylor had just cleaned up the apartment when he heard a knock on the door. He opened the door to see that it was his neighbor sending his baking tray back. Finn Taylor glanced at the tray. It was clean, and more importantly, the lasagna was gone. That put him at ease. Seeing his expression, Michelle Yeller understood what he was thinking about. She pointed at her own apartment. She's so prideful. She ate it all without leaving any for me. Finn Taylor took the tray and smiled. You better not let her catch you talking about her. The young girl stuck her tongue out before returning to her apartment. She had no sooner entered than her friend asked, did he ask where the lasagna went? Michelle Yeller shook her head. Nope. Why would he ask such a question? Only then did Josie Meyer let out a sigh of relief. Michelle Yeller suddenly thought of something. Josie, are we really going to the Larson Corporation for an interview tomorrow? The other nodded solemnly. But I'm sure you know the plight the Larson Corporation is in now. Their partners have all left them, and Melanie Taylor, Willow Corporation, Quince Larson, and many others are turning against them now. To be honest, they might go bankrupt at any time. Why are we joining them now? Josie Meyer returned the question with another, have you thought about why brilliant men follow others around? Michelle Yeller was confused. Because they're under duress. Of course not. If they don't want to follow others, people will never be able to force them to do so. It's because they're highly revered and looked up to by those who are in the most trouble. Isn't that the case with us? We wouldn't be looked upon as important figures if we were to join Willow Corporation, Quince Larson, or Melanie Taylor. We'll only have a chance of being part of the higher management if we join the Larson Corporation and Yvette Larson. Michelle Yeller had grown up with Josie Meyer, who had always been arrogant. However, the former couldn't deny that her friend had always been more intelligent than her. She had never thought of this before. All right, I'll listen to you. Yvette Larson tossed and turned on her bed, unable to fall asleep. Just then, she received a notification on her phone. She excitedly checked her phone, thinking that Finn Taylor had sent her a message. However, the result disappointed her. It wasn't Finn Taylor but an unexpected person, Willow Stone. Yes, Willow Stone had sent a message to her, requesting to meet the next day at none other than the Starbucks where they had been caught the other day. Yvette Larson was so enraged that she nearly smashed her phone onto the ground. But she knew that wouldn't help, so she made a call to her best friend. It's the middle of the night, Yvette. Why aren't you sleeping? Clarine Landon had been woken up by her friend's call. Clarine, Willow asked to meet me. Her words caused the other's sleepiness to dissipate, and Clarine Landon shot up in bed. What? She has the cheek to meet you? I want to meet her. Her best friend remained silent for a long while before replying, all right, I'll go with you then. Okay, I'll pick you up tomorrow morning. Yvette Larson hardly slept a wink that night, and the same was true for Finn Taylor. They each laid on their own beds, gazing out at the night sky as they thought about their past together. Almost at the same time, they got out of bed, got some water, and washed up. This wasn't a coincidence but a routine that they had established over the 3 years as a couple. They had unwittingly influenced each other over the years. Just as Finn Taylor headed out, he happened to run into Josie Meyer. Her head was high up in the air, and she looked down on the man. Of course, Finn Taylor ignored her as well and walked into the elevator. The young lady walked in after him, and he pressed the button for the ground floor. As the elevator door closed, the atmosphere stiffened all of a sudden. Josie Meyer suddenly spoke up. I know you've been watching our door. You only came out after seeing me come out, right? I know you want to hit on me. Go ahead. Where does her confidence even come from? Why in the world would she think that I like her? And to think that I want to hit on her? She must be nuts. What? Stop putting on an act. Do you think that I would believe you didn't harbor any other intentions when you brought that tray of lasagna over yesterday? We're alone here, so isn't this the best chance for you? Why aren't you saying anything? Finn Taylor pointed at the elevator door. Do you see that? What? The door is quite clean, so you can use it as a mirror. I suggest that you look in the mirror. Josie Meyer was enraged by his words. All men are bad, all they're after are women's beauty. I know for a fact that he's no exception. He was only cold the other day because he was pretending to be a gentleman. However, I know that he's just a wolf in sheep's clothing. It was exactly because of this that Josie Meyer's impression of the man worsened. After all, the world was whatever one made it out to be. As the elevator door opened, Josie Meyer harumphed and stormed out. She had been suppressing her emotions. If given the chance, she would have killed Finn Taylor right then and there. Finn Taylor had removed all his belongings from number 1 Pacific Heights and sent them over. He had come downstairs to collect them. At the guard post, he spotted Michelle Yeller's name and turned to the security officer. These are for my neighbor. Do you remember me showing them the way yesterday? The security officer naturally remembered the arrival of 2 young and beautiful girls, and he nodded. Yes, I remember you brought them over. Do you want to take this for them then? Finn Taylor picked Michelle Yeller's packages up but pushed her friends away. There are too many. I can't possibly carry so many of them, so I'll take these first. The security officer glanced at the packages the man was holding. The latter's hands were indeed filled, so he didn't think much of it. After placing his own packages at home, Finn Taylor headed to Michelle Yeller's apartment and knocked on the door. It was Josie Meyer who opened it. She was already back. Seeing Finn Taylor, she said curtly, "Well, I was right, wasn't I? I know you're trying to hit on me. What do you have this time?" Finn Taylor ignored her and shouted, "Michelle, your parcels." The other young lady walked out after hearing his voice. "Oh, you helped us to bring our parcels over. Thank you so much." Hearing that, Josie Meyer rushed over. But there weren't any of her parcels, only her friends. "Why aren't there any for me?" Finn Taylor blandly replied, "I don't know you well enough." His reply angered her once again. What a bast. He went to collect the parcels and helped Michelle but not me. Wait for next part.